Sorry guys, I'm not home right now. So take this as something to entertain you until I return. What if Naruto became Wolverine? What if destiny twisted in a darker, more ferocious direction? What if instead of becoming the knuckle-headed hero we know, Naruto awakened as the unstoppable beast, the Wolverine of the Shinobi World, a man forged in pain, a warrior with adamantium shredding through flesh and steel, healing faster than any jutsu, fighting longer than any shinobi, and tearing through anyone who stands in his way. This is not the Naruto you know. This is the weapon he was never meant to become, the Wolverine of the Hidden Leaf.
The night air in Konoha carried the scent of ramen and cherry blossoms, a peaceful evening that would shatter in blood and betrayal. Naruto Uzumaki, 10 years old and exhausted from another day of failed academy exercises, trudged toward his apartment through the empty streets. The villagers' hateful stares had long since driven him to travel after dark, when their eyes couldn't find him. He didn't understand why they hated him. He only knew that he was alone. He never saw the needle. Kabuto Yakushi emerged from the shadows as Naruto's body went limp, catching the boy before he hit the ground. Target acquired, he whispered into a communication device. The Nine Tails container is secure. From the rooftops, 3 more figures descended, Orochimaru's most loyal operatives, each bearing the curse mark that bound them to the Sannin's will. They moved with practiced efficiency, wrapping Naruto in suppression seals that would mask his chakra signature from even the most skilled sensors. Lord Orochimaru will be pleased, one muttered, eyeing the unconscious child. The demon brat was left practically unguarded. Kabuto adjusted his glasses, a thin smile crossing his face. The third Hokage's sentimentality is his weakness. He believed the village would protect one of their own. He hefted Naruto over his shoulder. They never do. Within the hour, they had cleared Konoha's borders. By dawn, Naruto Uzumaki had vanished without a trace. Time skip. Jiraiya of the Sannin tore through the land of fire like a storm, following every lead, every whisper, every rumor. For 6 months, he searched. He interrogated, he threatened, he pleaded, he found nothing. The Toad Sage stood in a burned-out facility somewhere in the land of rice fields, surrounded by corpses that bore Orochimaru's experimental modifications. But no blonde-haired child. No sign of his godson. Naruto, he whispered to the darkness. Where are you? The darkness didn't answer. Time skip. Deep beneath the earth, in a laboratory that existed on no map, Naruto Uzumaki screamed. The restraints cut into his wrists and ankles as another wave of agony tore through his small body. Orochimaru circled the surgical table like a serpent, golden eyes gleaming with fascination as seals carved themselves into Naruto's flesh. Magnificent, the Sannin hissed. The Nine Tails chakra is even more potent than I imagined. But raw power isn't enough. No, we need to refine it, control it, transform it into something perfect. Kabuto monitored the readings, concern flickering across his usually composed features. Lord Orochimaru, his vitals are becoming unstable. The chakra integration is proceeding exactly as planned. Orochimaru's hand moved in a blur, injecting a glowing substance directly into Naruto's sternum. The adamantine will bind to his skeletal structure at the molecular level. Combined with the Nine Tails' regenerative properties, he'll become an indestructible weapon. A living blade that can cut through nations. Adamantine, the same impossibly rare, near indestructible material that formed the Sage of Six Paths' legendary weapons. Orochimaru had spent decades gathering enough for this single experiment, this one perfect creation. Naruto's screams reached a pitch that shattered the glass observation panels. The adamantine is bonding to his bones, Kabuto reported, his voice tight. But the Nine Tails chakra, it's not separating from his system as the seals intended. It's fusing with him. Lord Orochimaru, this isn't. The explosion of crimson chakra threw both Sannin and assistant across the laboratory. When the light faded, Naruto hung limp in his restraints, chest heaving. His body had changed, muscle tissue had restructured itself, denser and more efficient. His canines had elongated into fangs. And from between his knuckles, 6 blades of adamantine-coated bone gleamed in the sterile light, 3 per hand, each one extending a foot beyond his fists. But it was his eyes that made even Orochimaru hesitate. The blue had been swallowed by a feral amber glow, slit pupils dilating and contracting as the boy's head slowly lifted. No, Kabuto breathed. The Nine Tails didn't separate. It merged with him. They're the same entity now. Orochimaru's smile widened despite the danger radiating from his creation. Even better than I hoped. With the Nine Tails power permanently bound to his biology and the adamantine reinforcing his structure, he's become. The restraints exploded. Naruto moved like a force of nature, his newly enhanced senses overwhelming his young mind with input. Everything was too loud, too bright, too much. The only thing he understood was pain and the smell of those who had caused it. The first guard died before he could raise his weapon, adamantine claws punching through his chest like paper. The second lost his head. The third managed to scream before Naruto's fist caved in his ribcage. "Restrain him," Orochimaru commanded, already weaving hand signs. "He's not ready yet, the integration is incomplete." But Naruto was beyond reason. The facility's alarm systems wailed as he carved a path of destruction through Orochimaru's compound. His enhanced senses guided him through corridors he'd never seen, his nose finding fresh air beyond the underground prison. Orochimaru pursued, sending wave after wave of his failed experiments, twisted creatures that had once been shinobi, now warped into living weapons. Naruto tore through them all. Some he killed, others he maimed, all of them learned to fear the feral boy with death in his claws. A massive creature, something that might have once been three men fused together, blocked his path to the surface. It roared, a sound that shook the walls. Naruto roared back, and the Nine Tails fury laced his voice. He leapt, claws extended, and showed the creature what true predators looked like. When he finally burst through the facility's hidden exit into a moonlit forest, Naruto was soaked in blood, none of it his own. His wounds had already healed, the adamantine-laced skeleton making his regeneration faster and more complete than any medical jutsu. Behind him, Orochimaru emerged from the facility, surrounded by his remaining forces. The Sannin's eyes blazed with rage and twisted pride. "Magnificent, absolutely magnificent, but you're not ready to be free, my perfect weapon. Come back, and I'll teach you to control." Naruto ran, not because of strategy, not because of mercy, but because his overwhelmed instincts screamed a truth that his 10-year-old mind couldn't articulate. He wasn't strong enough to fight a Sannin. Not yet. The fusion was incomplete, his control non-existent, his power raw and undisciplined. So he ran into the night, leaving Orochimaru standing amid the ruins of his facility, watching his greatest creation disappear into the darkness. "Let him go," the Sannin finally said, a serpentine smile crossing his face. "He'll need time to mature. And when he does, when he truly understands what he's become, he'll have no choice but to return to me." After all, Orochimaru's hand brushed the curse mark on his neck. Where else can a monster find acceptance? But Orochimaru didn't understand what he'd created. He'd made a weapon, yes, but he'd also made something that would haunt him for the rest of his days. He'd made his own executioner. Time skip. 5 years later, the mercenary known only as Kitsune had become a legend whispered in the darkest corners of the Shinobi World. No one knew where he came from. No one knew his true face, as he wore a mask that covered everything but his eyes. But everyone knew what he could do. He never failed a mission. He never left witnesses, and he never, ever stayed in one place long enough to be caught. In a tavern on the border between the land of fire and the land of hot water, a man in dark clothing nursed a cup of sake while listening to the conversations around him. His enhanced hearing caught every word, every whisper, every lie. Heard he killed 15 Anbu single-handedly. Impossible to track, like he just vanishes. Those claws they say he has, cutting through anything. Naruto Uzumaki, now 15 years old, kept his expression neutral beneath his mask. The years had changed him. He stood taller now, his body lean and powerful, every muscle honed for violence. His blonde hair had darkened slightly and grown wild, perpetually unkempt despite any attempt to tame it. The whisker marks on his cheeks had deepened into actual scars from one of Orochimaru's procedures that even his healing couldn't erase. His senses had evolved beyond anything human. He could smell emotions, fear, anger, lust, deception. He could hear heartbeats from 50 yards away. He could track a target across 3 countries by scent alone. And he could heal from almost anything. In the years since his escape, Naruto had learned to control his abilities. The claws retracted now, hidden beneath his skin until needed. The berserker rage that had consumed him during his escape could be managed, directed, weaponized. He'd taught himself to fight not through formal training but through brutal trial and error, developing a style that was pure savagery refined into lethal efficiency. He'd also learned to survive alone. The Hidden Leaf Village was 5 years and a lifetime away. He'd passed through the Land of Fire dozens of times on various missions, sometimes coming within miles of Konoha's walls. But he never went back. What could he say to them? What could he tell the old man Hokage, if he even still lived? I'm the monster they always thought I was. They were right to hate me. Instead, he hunted. Orochimaru had countless facilities scattered across the elemental nations, each one performing experiments that would make even hardened shinobi vomit. Naruto had made it his mission to find every single one and burn it to ash. He'd destroyed 47 bases in 5 years, killed hundreds of Orochimaru's operatives, freed dozens of experimental subjects, though most were too far gone to save, and he'd given them the mercy of a quick death. Some called him a hero for this. Naruto knew better. He wasn't saving anyone. He was hunting the man who'd made him into a weapon, and destroying everything Orochimaru had built was simply the most efficient way to draw him out. Another round, he said quietly to the bartender, his voice rough from disuse. He didn't speak much these days. The bartender, a nervous man with a scar across his nose, refilled the cup with shaking hands. Everyone in this tavern knew who wore that particular mask. Everyone knew better than to cause trouble. Naruto's nose twitched. New scent, multiple signatures, shinobi, well-trained ones based on how they masked their chakra. They'd entered the tavern and were trying to blend in, but to Naruto's senses, they might as well have been screaming their presence. Hidden cloud headbands, worn beneath civilian clothes. A hunting party. He took a sip of sake and waited. If they weren't here for him, he'd let them be. If they were, well, it wouldn't be the first time he'd had to kill before finishing his drink. But they ignored him, heading to a back room for a private meeting. Naruto's ears tracked their conversation anyway. Something about a target in the land of frost, a rogue nin with a bounty, standard hunter nin business. He relaxed fractionally. Not his problem. His mission was simple. Track down the lead he'd received on another Orochimaru facility, this one supposedly in the land of sound. Infiltrate, destroy, and if he was lucky, finally catch the snake bastard himself. Naruto finished his drink and stood, leaving payment on the bar. The crowd parted without thinking, giving him a wide berth as he headed for the door. Outside, the night air carried 1,000 scents, cooking food, unwashed bodies, blood from a nearby butcher shop, and underneath it all, the faint trace of snake musk that made his lip curl. Soon, he thought, claws itching beneath his skin. Soon I'll find you, Orochimaru, and when I do, I'll show you what your perfect weapon can really do. He vanished into the darkness, a ghost hunting a nightmare. Time skip. 3 months later, border of the land of lightning. The job had seemed straightforward. Eliminate a lightning country official who'd been selling state secrets to multiple bidders. Simple assassination work, the kind Naruto had done 100 times. He hadn't expected Kumogakure to send a Jinchuriki as a bodyguard. Yugito ni moved like liquid death, blue flames wreathing her form as she pressed her attack. The two tails chakra blazed around her, transforming her into an avatar of feline fury. She was fast, faster than almost anyone Naruto had fought. Almost. Her clawed hand swept toward his throat. Naruto ducked under it, his enhanced reflexes making her look like she was moving through water. His own claws extended with a snicked sound, adamantine bone gleaming in the moonlight. Impossible, Yugito hissed, her pupils slid like a cat's. No one is that fast. Naruto's fist hammered into her ribs, the impact sending her skidding backward through the dirt. She recovered instantly, flames intensifying. Fire style. Mouse hairball. She exhaled a massive fireball that split into dozens of flaming projectiles, each one tracking toward Naruto with guided precision. He ran forward to meet them. The flames washed over him, and Yugito allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. No one walked through the two tails fire and Naruto burst from the inferno, his clothes smoking but his skin already healing from the burns. His healing factor worked faster than her flames could damage him. Her eyes widened. What are you? He didn't answer, didn't speak, just pressed his attack with relentless efficiency. They clashed in a blur of claws and flames. Yugito was powerful, her chakra reserves were immense, her techniques devastating, her combat experience significant. She'd trained her entire life for this, had mastered the Two Tails power, had earned her place among Kumo's elite. But Naruto was built for this. Every wound she inflicted healed within seconds. His adamantine-reinforced skeleton let him shrug off blows that would shatter normal bones. His senses predicted her movements before she made them, reading the minute shifts in her muscle tension and scent. And his raw strength, enhanced by the fused Nine Tails chakra and Orochimaru's modifications, exceeded hers. A particularly vicious exchange left them facing each other across a crater-marked clearing. Yugito panted, blood trickling from a cut across her shoulder. Naruto stood perfectly still, his breathing barely elevated, wounds already closed. "You're stronger than me," Yugito admitted, her voice tight with frustration. "Faster, more durable, but I won't let you kill Lord Takeshi. He's under Kumogakure's protection." "Already dead," Naruto said quietly. His first words of the fight. Yugito's blood ran cold. "What? Before we started fighting, poison dart, coated in something that mimics a heart attack. He was dead 30 seconds after I entered the compound." Naruto's amber eyes met hers. This fight was never about him. She stared at him, understanding dawning. "You're testing me. Wanted to see if a Jinchuriki could match me." He retracted his claws with a sound like swords being sheathed. "You can't." The casual dismissal stung worse than any injury. Yugito's chakra flared, the Two Tails voice growling in her mind. Asterisk, "Let me out. Let me show this arrogant fool what real power looks like." But before she could respond, Naruto was gone. She blinked, and he'd vanished into the night like smoke. Yugito stood alone in the ruined clearing, her mission failed, her pride shattered, and her mind racing with questions about the masked warrior who'd defeated her without even trying. "Who are you?" she whispered to the empty air. The forest didn't answer. Time skip. Orochimaru's hidden sanctuary, 2 weeks later. The Sannin sat in his underground chamber, surrounded by the last remnants of his once vast organization. Maps covered the walls, each one marking destroyed facilities with red X's. 49 bases, 49 of his carefully constructed laboratories, burned to nothing. And always, the same signature left behind. Claw marks gouged into stone, and the scent of something that was no longer quite human. "He's destroyed the facility in the land of rice fields," Kabuto reported, adjusting his glasses to hide his unease. 23 operatives dead, the research subjects were. Mercy killed. "My perfect weapon," Orochimaru hissed, "has become my perfect nightmare." The Konoha invasion had weakened him significantly. Killing the third Hokage had cost him his arms, the Shinigami's curse still eating at his soul. He'd need a new vessel soon, and Sasuke Uchiha, freshly defected and brimming with potential, was his chosen candidate. But first, he needed to survive long enough to take the boy's body. And that meant dealing with Naruto. "He's hunting you specifically now," Kabuto continued. "The pattern is clear. He's systematically destroying everything you've built, cutting off resources, eliminating allies. It's only a matter of time before he finds me." Orochimaru's golden eyes gleamed with something between pride and fear. "The boy I tortured has become the hunter, and I've become the prey." How ironic. In another chamber, Sasuke Uchiha practiced his techniques, unaware of the monster that stalked his new master. The 13-year-old had sought power to kill his brother, believing Orochimaru could provide it. He didn't know that his new teacher was already being hunted by someone far more dangerous than Itachi Uchiha. Someone who'd learned that power meant nothing without the will to use it absolutely. Someone who'd become the very weapon Orochimaru had tried to create, only loyal to nothing but his own vendetta. Time skip. Border of the Land of Lightning, present day. Naruto crouched on a tree branch, his enhanced senses tracking multiple signatures. He'd been following a lead on another Orochimaru facility when he'd caught a familiar scent on the wind. Blue flames, cat-like chakra, and underneath it, the woman who'd challenged him 3 months ago. Yugito ni. Curiosity pulled him off his current mission. He followed her scent for 2 miles, staying downwind and silent. She was hunting something, her movements precise and purposeful, her chakra carefully controlled. Then he smelled what she was tracking. A missing nin from Kumo, someone with a significant bounty. Standard hunter nin work. He should have kept moving, should have continued toward his real target. But something about her fierce determination intrigued him. She'd lost their first fight badly, yet here she was, still pushing forward, still fighting. There was a resilience to her that reminded him of someone. Some version of himself that had died in Orochimaru's laboratory. The missing nin she tracked was formidable. A Jonin-level shinobi with lightning techniques that split trees and scorched earth. Yugito engaged him with professional efficiency, her Two Tails chakra giving her the edge she needed. But she'd been weakened by a previous fight, Naruto's nose told him. Blood loss, chakra depletion, she was pushing herself too hard, and the missing nin was exploiting it. Naruto watched from the shadows as she took a lightning-coated kunai to the shoulder, her cry of pain sharp in the air. She retaliated with a fire-style technique that incinerated her opponent, but the damage was done. She fell to one knee, breathing hard. Not my problem, Naruto thought, preparing to leave. Then two new scents hit his nose, and every muscle in his body went rigid. Death, fresh blood, and something worse, something that smelled of zealotry and madness. Two figures emerged from the forest, and Naruto recognized them immediately from the bingo books. Hidan and Kakuzu of the Akatsuki. Well, Hidan laughed, his scythe gleaming in the fading light. A Jinchuriki, already gift-wrapped and weakened. Lord Jashin smiles on us today. Kakuzu's masked face surveyed Yugito with cold calculation. The two tails. Our orders are clear. Capture her and... He stopped mid-sentence, his earth-enhanced senses detecting something. Hidan, we're not alone. Who cares? Hidan twirled his scythe eagerly. More sacrifices for Lord Jashin. Kakuzu's eyes narrowed. That scent, I know it. His hand tightened on his threads. It's him, the one who killed my previous partner. 2 years ago, Naruto had encountered an Akatsuki pair on one of his missions. The fight had been brief and brutal. He'd torn through them like paper, and when it was over, he'd held the head of Kakuzu's partner in his hand. A shinobi whose name Naruto had never bothered to learn. He'd left the head on a spike as a message. Stay away from me. Apparently, the Akatsuki hadn't appreciated the warning. Yugito struggled to her feet, blood running down her arm, her chakra nearly depleted. She'd fought hard, and now she would die here, far from home, at the hands of S-rank criminals. She knew it, they knew it, and then a voice cut through the clearing, rough and quiet, carrying the promise of violence. Walk away. Naruto dropped from the trees, landing between Yugito and the Akatsuki members. His claws extended, 6 blades of adamantine catching the dying sunlight. Yugito's eyes widened. You, I said, Naruto repeated, his voice dropping to a growl, walk away. Kakuzu's laugh was like grinding stones. The butcher returns. You killed my partner, tore his head from his shoulders like he was nothing. Did you think there would be no consequences? Didn't think about it at all, Naruto said honestly. He was in my way. So are you. Lord Jashin demands blood. Hidan charged forward, his scythe swinging in a deadly arc. Your head will look beautiful on his altar. Naruto met the charge head-on. The impact of their collision sent shockwaves through the clearing. Naruto's claws caught Hidan's scythe, adamantine meeting blessed steel in a shower of sparks. They broke apart, circled, and clashed again. You're fast. Hidan laughed, his eyes manic. This will be a glorious sacrifice. Behind him, Kakuzu was already moving, black threads erupting from his body to attack from multiple angles. Hidan, drive him into my threads. We'll tear him apart. But Naruto had fought enough opponents to recognize a coordinated assault. His enhanced senses tracked every thread, every swing of Hidan's scythe, every shift in their positioning. He was a weapon designed for exactly this kind of fight. His claws severed 3 threads with surgical precision. He ducked under Hidan's horizontal slash and drove his fist into the immortal's stomach, the impact lifting him off his feet and sending him flying into a tree. Kakuzu's hand shot forward, threads wrapping around Naruto's arm. Gotcha. Wrong. Naruto's free hand slashed through the threads, then he pulled, using Kakuzu's own binding to yank the masked shinobi forward into a devastating headbutt that shattered his primary mask. Impossible. Kakuzu hissed, blood running down his face. You're stronger than before. Naruto didn't give him time to finish. He pressed his advantage, claws flashing in a deadly pattern that forced Kakuzu into a defensive retreat. Every wound Naruto inflicted healed within seconds, while Kakuzu's regeneration, though formidable, was slower. Fire style. Searing migraine. Kakuzu exhaled a massive stream of fire. Naruto ran through it, his body healing from the burns as fast as they appeared. He burst from the flames and drove both sets of claws into Kakuzu's chest, piercing through 2 of his hearts. The older shinobi staggered back, threads frantically working to seal the wounds. Those claws. What are they made of? Something that cuts through anything, Naruto said quietly. Including you. From behind, Hidan had recovered, his ritual circle already drawn in blood. Got your blood on my scythe now, fool. Once I step into the circle, your heart is mine. Naruto glanced back, seeing the circle, understanding immediately what kind of technique this was. Some kind of shared damage jutsu, probably linked to the scythe's cut. Hidan stepped into the circle, his skin turning black with white skeletal markings. He raised a pike, grinning maniacally. "Say goodbye to your..." Naruto's hand shot forward, claws extended, and punched straight through his own chest. Hidan's eyes widened as he felt the phantom pain. "What the? You're supposed to be dying, not..." But Naruto wasn't dying. His healing factor was already closing the wound, flesh knitting back together around his adamantine-reinforced bones. The pain was immense, yes, but pain was something Naruto had learned to walk through years ago. He pulled his claws free from his own chest, blood dripping from the blades, and stalked toward Hidan with murder in his eyes. "Immortality," Naruto said softly, "only matters if you can't heal." His claws flashed out, not to kill. Hidan's immortality would prevent that, but to asterisk gut. He opened Hidan from sternum to groin in one savage motion, then grabbed the screaming Akatsuki member and threw him bodily out of the ritual circle. Hidan's connection broke, his technique disrupted. No, Hidan tried to crawl back to the circle, his intestines trailing behind him. "My ceremony, my sacrifice to Lord Jashin." Naruto stomped on his head, not hard enough to kill, but hard enough to break the jawbone and shut him up. Kakuzu watched this display with growing horror. His partner, who was supposed to be unkillable, had been dismantled in seconds. And the monster who'd done it was now turning those amber eyes back toward him. "You killed 2 of my hearts," Kakuzu said, assessing the situation. "I have 3 left, that's enough to retreat and..." Naruto moved. One moment he was standing over Hidan's twitching form. The next, he was inside Kakuzu's guard, claws driving toward the remaining hearts. What followed was less a fight and more a systematic dismantling. Kakuzu threw everything he had, lightning techniques, wind blades, earth armor, fire torrents. None of it mattered. Naruto's healing let him ignore damage that would kill normal shinobi, and his adamantine claws cut through every defense. The 3rd heart exploded under Naruto's fist. The 4th was torn out, still beating, before being crushed. The 5th and final heart. Kakuzu's threads wrapped around Naruto in a desperate final gambit, binding him in place. "If I'm dying, I'm taking you with." Naruto's claws retracted, then extended through the threads, through Kakuzu's chest, and out the other side, destroying the final heart. The threads went slack. Kakuzu of the Akatsuki, the shinobi who'd fought the first Hokage and lived, who'd survived nearly a century through cunning and multiple hearts, collapsed into pieces. Naruto stood among the carnage, breathing hard, his body already healing from the dozens of wounds he'd accumulated. Behind him, Hidan was still alive, immortal but thoroughly defeated, his body too damaged to move. And watching all of this with wide eyes was Yugito Ni. She'd expected him to leave her. She'd been certain that when the Akatsuki appeared, the mysterious warrior would vanish into the night and let her die. Why would he risk his life for someone he'd fought before, someone he had no connection to? But he'd stayed, he'd fought, and he'd won against 2 S-rank criminals who'd been sent to capture Jinchuriki. "Why?" she whispered, the word barely audible. Naruto turned to her, blood dripping from his claws, his mask splattered with gore. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, quietly, "Didn't feel like running today." It wasn't the truth, not entirely. The truth was more complicated. Something about her fierce spirit, her refusal to quit even when outmatched, reminded him of who he used to be. Who he might have been, if Orochimaru hadn't torn that person apart and rebuilt him into a weapon. But that was too much to explain, too much to feel. Yugito tried to stand, but her legs gave out. The blood loss, the chakra depletion, the injuries from her previous fight, it all caught up with her at once. Naruto caught her before she hit the ground. "I don't need..." She tried to protest, but her voice was fading. "Yeah, you do." Naruto shifted her weight, cradling her against his chest. His enhanced senses told him exactly how badly she was hurt, bad enough that she wouldn't make it back to Kumo without medical attention. He could leave her here. Should leave her here. He didn't do rescue missions. He didn't save people. He was a mercenary, a killer, a weapon that Orochimaru had forged into something inhuman. But when he looked down at her face, unconscious now, he saw something that made him hesitate. Trust. Even unconscious, even having fought him before, even knowing what he was capable of, her body had relaxed when he'd caught her. Some part of her, instinct or intuition, had decided he was safe. No one had ever looked at him like that, like he was something other than a monster. "Damn it," he muttered. Naruto vanished into the forest, carrying Yugito away from the battlefield. Behind him, Hidan's curses faded into the distance, and Kakuzu's body cooled in the dirt. He moved for hours, putting distance between them and the Akatsuki, finding a cave deep in the mountains that his senses confirmed was uninhabited. He laid Yugito down on a bed of moss, then used his claws to carefully cut away her damaged armor. The shoulder wound was deep but clean. He had basic medical supplies in his pack, enough to stop the bleeding and prevent infection. His hands, so deadly minutes ago, worked with surprising gentleness as he cleaned and bandaged her injuries. She'd wake up in a few hours, he estimated. Wake up confused, probably hostile, definitely with questions he wouldn't answer. But for now, she was safe. Naruto sat at the cave entrance, watching the sun rise over the mountains, his claws retracted and his mind replaying the fight. The Akatsuki had sent 2 of their members for Yugito. They'd send more eventually, hunting all the Jinchuriki for whatever nightmare plan they had. Which meant they'd come for him too, sooner or later. The Nine Tails' power might be fused with his biology now, might be irremovable, but that wouldn't stop them from trying. Let them come. Behind him, Yugito stirred slightly in her sleep, her breathing steady and strong. Naruto glanced back at her, then forward again toward the sunrise. For the first time in 5 years, he wasn't alone. He wasn't sure how he felt about that. Time skip. Consciousness returned slowly to Yugito knee, pulled up from the depths by the dull ache in her shoulder and the unfamiliar scent of mountain stone. Her eyes snapped open, years of shinobi training overriding the grogginess of extended unconsciousness. She was in a cave, bandaged, alive. The memories flooded back, the missing nin hunt, the ambush by Akatsuki members, the certain knowledge that she was about to die. And then him, the masked warrior who'd appeared from nowhere and torn through 2S rank criminals like they were academy students. Her hand went instinctively to her shoulder, finding clean bandages and careful medical work. The Two Tails healing factor had already accelerated her recovery significantly. She could feel the wound closing, the muscle tissue knitting back together beneath the wrappings. You're awake. Yugito's head snapped toward the cave entrance where Naruto sat cross-legged, his back to her, watching the forest beyond. His mask was still in place, his posture relaxed but ready, like a predator at rest. How long was I out? Her voice was hoarse. 8 hours. Your healing is faster than normal humans. Jinchuriki perk. The casual mention of her status made her stiffen. Few outside Kumogakure knew what she was. You know what I am. Could smell the tailed beast chakra the first time we fought. He still hadn't turned to look at her. It's different from normal chakra. Wilder. Bound to your biology the way mine is. Yugito pushed herself into a sitting position, testing her body's responses. Strong. Nearly recovered. The Two Tails purred in approval within her mindscape. Asterisk. This one is dangerous, Kit. But he protected us. Curious. Why? Yugito asked the question that had been burning in her mind since she'd first regained consciousness. Why did you save me? Naruto was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a note of uncertainty that seemed alien to someone so deadly. Don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He finally turned his head slightly, enough that she could see his profile beneath the mask. You could have run during our first fight. You didn't. You stood and fought even though you knew you'd lose. That's... He paused, searching for words. Rare. So you risked your life against the Akatsuki because you admired my stubbornness? Yugito couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. Maybe I just liked your feisty attitude. There was something that might have been humor in his tone, though it was hard to tell through the rough timbre of his voice. Yugito studied him, her trained eyes taking in details she'd missed during their fights. The way he held himself spoke of someone who'd lived alone for years, who'd forgotten how to interact with others. His body language was defensive, closed off, but not hostile. And strangely, she felt safe. It made no logical sense. This man, this weapon, had defeated her effortlessly, had killed 2 Akatsuki members with savage efficiency, had capabilities that defied everything she knew about shinobi combat. By all rights, she should be terrified. But sitting here in this cave, watching him watch the forest, she felt no fear. Only curiosity. And something else, something that had been gnawing at her since their first encounter 3 months ago. I need to defeat him, asterisk, she realized with sudden clarity. I need to prove I'm not that weak. It wasn't about pride, not exactly. It was about knowing that she could stand on equal ground with someone that powerful. That she wasn't just a village weapon to be deployed and retrieved, but a warrior who could challenge the strongest. The Akatsuki, she said, changing the subject. You knew them. Killed one of their members 2 years ago. His partner was that thread user you saw die. The casual way he mentioned killing an S-rank criminal made Yugito's blood run cold. Do you know what they want? Why they're hunting Jinchuriki? No, don't care. They got in my way. He stood fluidly, stretching his shoulders. They'll probably send more eventually. Stronger ones. And you'll fight them too. If they find me. He glanced back at her. You should return to your village. They probably think you're dead by now. Yugito tested her legs, standing carefully. The two tails chakra flowed through her system, reinforcing muscles and accelerating healing. She was almost back to full strength. What about you? She asked. Where will you go? Hunting. That single word carried years of rage compressed into 2 syllables. Hunting who? Naruto's hand clenched into a fist, and for a brief moment, Yugito saw his claws extend just slightly before he forced them to retract. The one who made me into this. Understanding dawned. Orochimaru. His head snapped toward her. How did you? There are rumors. Stories of a monster that's been destroying his facilities across the nations. Some call you a hero. Others call you a demon. She met his gaze steadily. I'm guessing you don't care either way. I'm not a hero, Naruto said flatly. I'm a weapon hunting the one who forged me. Nothing heroic about revenge. Time skip. Akatsuki hideout. Unknown location. The chamber was dark, lit only by the spectral projections of the Akatsuki members gathered through the phantom lantern jutsu. Pain stood at the center, his Rinnegan eyes surveying the assembled group with cold calculation. Kakuzu is dead, he announced without preamble. His body was recovered near the border of Lightning Country. All 5 hearts destroyed, murmurs rippled through the projections. And Hidan? Kisame asked, amusement coloring his voice. Alive, technically. Pain's expression didn't change, though I use the term loosely. He was found in multiple pieces, his internal organs exposed, jawbone shattered. He's been reassembled. From the corner, Hidan's actual body, stitched back together and looking significantly less enthusiastic than usual, groaned. That bastard walked right through my ceremony. Just walked through the shared damage like it was nothing. What kind of monster heals that fast? The same kind that tore Kakuzu apart, Conan said quietly. Zetsu, what did your surveillance reveal? The plant-like figure emerged from the floor. Interesting developments. The attacker matches descriptions of a mercenary known as Kitsune, who's been systematically destroying Orochimaru's facilities for the past 5 years. Enhanced healing, superhuman strength and reflexes, adamantine claws that can cut through almost anything. Adamantine? Sasori's voice carried intrigue. That material hasn't been seen since the Sage of Six Paths era. How did a mercenary acquire such a thing? That's not the interesting part, Zetsu continued, his white half taking over. We managed to trace his origins back to Konoha. He matches the description of Naruto Uzumaki, who disappeared from the village at age 10. Itachi Uchiha's projection remained perfectly still, but those close to him might have noticed the minute tension in his shoulders. The 9 Tails Jinchuriki? Pain's interest sharpened. I thought the 9 Tails was accounted for in Konoha. It was, but this individual was kidnapped by Orochimaru approximately 5 years ago. What happened to him afterward is unclear, but the timing matches when Kitsune first appeared. Zetsu's eyes gleamed. The question is whether the 9 Tails is still sealed within him, or if Orochimaru's experiments altered the arrangement. Doesn't matter, Kisame grinned, his shark-like teeth gleaming. If he's that strong, he's worth capturing regardless. Think of it, a weapon that powerful under our control would be invaluable. Agreed, Pain said, but Hidan and Kakuzu's defeat proves that standard approaches won't work. This target requires more sophisticated handling. Hidan spat from his corner. Send me back out there. I'll slice him apart and offer every piece to Lord Jashin. You'll do no such thing, Pain said coldly. You already failed once. We need members who can adapt to an opponent with regenerative abilities and enhanced combat capabilities. Kisami's grin widened. Sounds like you're describing me and my partner here. All eyes turned to Itachi, whose expression remained neutral. The target is dangerous. Underestimating him would be fatal. Which is why I'm sending both of you, Pain said. Kisami's chakra absorption capabilities and your Sharingan should provide sufficient advantage. Your mission is capture, not kill. We need to understand what he is and whether the 9 Tails can be extracted. And if he proves too dangerous to capture alive? Itachi asked quietly. Then ensure he doesn't become a threat to our plans. Pain's Rinnegan fixed on the Uchiha. Eliminate him if capture proves impossible. We can't have a rogue element of that power interfering with our objectives. From the shadows, Hidan laughed bitterly. Good luck. That monster isn't going down easy. He's got the healing of a Jinchuriki, the strength of a demon, and those damn claws that cut through everything. You're going to need it. Kisami's grin never wavered. That just makes it more fun. Time skip. Hidden Sound Village, Orochimaru's inner sanctum. The Sannin's hands trembled as he poured the experimental serum into a syringe. His body was failing faster now, the dead demon consuming Seal's curse eating at his soul with each passing day. The arms he'd lost during the Konoha invasion remained useless, and his current body was reaching its limits. He needed Sasuke's body, soon, but first, he needed to survive long enough to take it. The facility in the Land of Hot Water was destroyed last night, Kabuto reported, adjusting his glasses. That makes 53 in total. He's getting closer, Lord Orochimaru. The pattern suggests he's narrowing down your possible locations. My perfect weapon, Orochimaru hissed, his golden eyes reflecting bitter amusement. I created something too perfect. A predator with no equal, driven by singular purpose. How poetic that my greatest achievement will be my downfall. We could negotiate with him. Negotiate? Orochimaru's laugh was harsh. I tortured him for months. Broke his body and rebuilt it into a living weapon. Fused the Nine Tails chakra with his very biology in an experiment that nearly killed him. What exactly do you think I could offer him that would make him stop? Kabuto had no answer. From the training grounds beyond the chamber, the sound of lightning crackling could be heard. Sasuke Uchiha, now 13 and consumed by his desire for power, pushed himself relentlessly. The boy had come to Orochimaru seeking strength to kill his brother, unaware that his new teacher was being hunted by something far more dangerous than Itachi. Sasuke-kun progresses nicely, Kabuto observed. In a few more months, he'll be ready for the transference. A few more months, Orochimaru echoed. I wonder if I have that long. My creation draws closer with each passing day, destroying everything I've built, killing everyone in his path. It's only a matter of time before he finds this location. What will you do when he does? Orochimaru's smile was serpentine and bitter. I'll do what any cornered snake does, Kabuto. I'll fight. I'll use every technique, every trick, every last bit of power I possess. He paused, and I'll probably die, but perhaps I can take him with me. Better to destroy my greatest creation than let it destroy everything else. Outside, Sasuke's Chidori lit up the evening sky, unaware that his mentor's greatest enemy was closing in. Time skip. Mountain Cave, present. You have information about Orochimaru's location? Naruto's voice was carefully controlled, but Yugito could hear the edge of anticipation beneath it. She nodded. Kumo intelligence gathered reports of unusual activity near the Land of Sound's borders. Heavy chakra suppression seals, increased security rotations, the kind of paranoid measures someone in hiding would use. She met his eyes. We suspected it might be one of his facilities, but it's too large an area to search effectively. Dozens of square miles of forest and mountain ranges. That doesn't matter if you have senses like mine. Naruto's claws extended slightly, unconsciously. I never forgot his scent. Snake musk and chemicals. I could track him across 3 countries if I had a general location. Yugito pulled out a small scroll from her equipment pouch, one of the few items that had survived the battle intact. She unrolled it to reveal a map with a circled region. Here, this is the area our scouts identified. Naruto studied the map, his enhanced eyesight picking out every detail even in the cave's dim light. 2 days travel if I push hard. Less if I go alone. You're not going alone. He looked up sharply. You should return to your village. They think you're dead. Your duty. My duty is to protect my village from threats like Orochimaru, Yugito interrupted. He's terrorized the cloud for years. His experiments, his human trafficking, his bioweapons. How many of my people have died because of him? Her golden eyes blazed with determination. Besides, you just saved my life. I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Maybe not, but I'm going anyway. She stood fully, rolling her shoulders and testing her recovered strength. The Two Tails chakra flowed through her system effortlessly now, all traces of her previous injuries gone. Unless you plan to stop me? Naruto regarded her silently. She could see the calculation in his eyes, weighing options, considering outcomes. Finally, he retracted his claws with a soft asterisk snicked. Keep up, was all he said. Time skip. 2 days later, border of the Land of Sound. The facility was exactly where Yugito's intelligence had indicated, hidden beneath layers of genjutsu and suppression seals that would fool most sensors. But Naruto's nose didn't rely on chakra detection. He could smell Orochimaru from a mile away, that distinctive mixture of snake musk, chemical preservatives, and something fundamentally wrong that made his hackles rise. They perched in the trees overlooking the compound, Naruto's enhanced senses mapping out every guard rotation, every patrol pattern, every defensive position. 23 signatures, he reported quietly. 15 standard operatives, 5 with curse marks, 3 with significant chakra reserves. And his voice dropped to a growl. Him, underground, central chamber. Yugito felt the two tails chakra surge in anticipation. What's the plan? I go in, you watch for runners. That's not a plan, that's suicide. Naruto's amber eyes met hers. I've done this 53 times before. It's not suicide, it's what I do. Before she could argue, he dropped from the tree and vanished into the compound. The first guard died without making a sound, Naruto's claws punching through his back and out his chest. The second managed half a scream before his throat was torn out. The third actually raised a kunai before Naruto's fist caved in his skull. The alarm finally sounded on the fourth kill. Then it was chaos. Sound ninja poured from the facility, curse marks activating, techniques firing in all directions. Naruto moved through them like a force of nature, his enhanced reflexes making their attacks look like they were moving through molasses. A curse mark user launched himself at Naruto's back, chakra-enhanced strength promising a devastating blow. Naruto spun, caught the fist, and pulled, tearing the man's arm from its socket before driving his claws through his chest. It's the monster, someone screamed, the one who's been destroying our bases. Kill him, Lord Orochimaru wants him dead. Yugito watched from her position, seeing Naruto disappear into the facility's depths. Part of her wanted to follow, to help, but she recognized her role. If anyone tried to flee and warn other Orochimaru facilities, she needed to stop them. The two tails purred in her mind. Asterisk. This one is a true predator, Kit. Watch and learn. Time skip. Inside the facility, Naruto's senses led him deeper. He could smell Orochimaru clearly now, along with two other familiar scents, Kabuto and something else. Someone young, powerful, with an intensity that reminded him of. No, he pushed the thought aside. Focus on the target. A figure emerged from the shadows. Kabuto Yakushi, looking older and more dangerous than Naruto remembered, his hands already glowing with chakra scalpels. So, you've finally come home, Kabuto said softly. Lord Orochimaru will be pleased to see his greatest creation again. Naruto's response was a wordless snarl as he lunged forward. Kabuto was fast, his combat skills honed over years of service to Orochimaru. His chakra scalpels could cut muscles and tendons without breaking skin, a perfect counter to most opponents. But Naruto's healing factor made precision irrelevant. Every cut Kabuto inflicted healed within seconds. Every severed muscle reconnected, every damaged organ regenerated, and all the while, Naruto pressed forward with relentless fury, his claws seeking vital points. Impossible. Kabuto gasped as his scalpel cut through Naruto's bicep, only to watch the muscle reknit instantly. Your regeneration has exceeded all projections. Naruto's fist hammered into his stomach, the impact lifting him off his feet and slamming him into the wall hard enough to crack stone. Kabuto struggled to rise, blood running from his mouth, his glasses shattered on the ground. Through the doorway behind him, a figure appeared. Yugito burst into the corridor, two tails chakra blazing around her like blue flame. She'd heard the sounds of combat and abandoned her post, unable to stand by while battles raged inside. She saw Kabuto struggling to his feet and recognized him from the bingo books, Orochimaru's right hand, a medical genius who'd killed countless shinobi. Her lips pulled back in a snarl that was more cat than human. You're the one who helps him with those experiments, she growled. How many people have you tortured? How many lives have you destroyed? Kabuto's hands moved in a blur, forming signs. I'm afraid I don't have time for moral lectures from a Kumo dog. The two tails chakra exploded outward. Yugito's transformation was partial but devastating. Her muscles swelled with feline power, her fingernails extending into actual claws, her killing intent washing over Kabuto like a physical force. The two tails' voice mixed with hers, creating a sound that was more roar than words. You will pay. What followed wasn't a fight, it was an execution. Kabuto threw everything he had, scalpels, poison mists, body modifications that enhanced his speed and strength. None of it mattered. The two tails' power made Yugito faster, stronger, more durable than Kabuto could match. And unlike Naruto's cold efficiency, Yugito's fury was personal. She remembered the cloud shinobi who'd gone missing over the years, the children taken from border villages, the experiments that had been discovered in abandoned facilities. Her clawed hand tore through Kabuto's shoulder, shredding muscle and shattering bone. He screamed, trying to heal himself with medical ninjutsu, but she didn't give him the chance. Her other hand ripped through his chest, breaking ribs like kindling. "Monster," Kabuto gasped, blood pouring from his mouth. "No," Yugito snarled, "I'm the consequence." Her final strike tore out his throat, and Kabuto Yakushi, Orochimaru's most loyal servant, his greatest medical asset, his second in command, collapsed into a broken heap. Yugito stood over the body, chest heaving, the two tails chakra gradually receding. She'd killed before, but never like this. Never with such brutal efficiency. He deserved worse, the two tails rumbled in her mind. Movement from another corridor made her spin, claws raised, ready to tear through anyone else who emerged. But the figure who stepped into the light made her pause. Sasuke Uchiha stood there, Sharingan active, taking in the scene with cold calculation. He looked older than the photos in the bingo books, his features sharper, his body lean with muscle earned through relentless training. Lightning crackled faintly around his hand. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice carrying no emotion. "Yugito ni of Kumogakure," she responded, forcing her claws to retract. "And you're Sasuke Uchiha, the last of your clan." His eyes narrowed. "Are you here to capture me? Return me to Konoha? I have no interest in Konoha's internal politics." She gestured to Kabuto's corpse. "I'm here for Orochimaru and his people." Sasuke's Sharingan studied her for a long moment, reading her body language, her chakra patterns, searching for deception. Finally, he deactivated his eyes. "Then we have no conflict." He turned and walked away down the corridor. "Orochimaru is yours. I have no loyalty to a man who's already dying." Yugito watched him disappear into the shadows, her mind racing. The Uchiha survivor was here, in Orochimaru's facility, yet showed no interest in defending his mentor. What kind of arrangement did they have? But before she could consider further, a roar echoed through the facility, inhuman, filled with rage and pain, recognizable even in its distortion. "Naruto." She ran toward the sound. Time skip. The central chamber was a nightmare made real. Medical equipment lined the walls, some of it still holding bodies in various states of experimentation. Seals covered every surface, designed to suppress chakra and prevent escape. And in the center, two figures battled with savage intensity. Orochimaru had transformed into his true form, a massive white snake, scaled and terrible, with dozens of smaller serpents emerging from his mouth to attack from multiple angles. His power was diminished, yes, weakened by the dead demon consuming Seal's curse, but he was still a Sannin. Still one of the most dangerous shinobi alive. And Naruto was tearing him apart. Claws flashed in the dim light, cutting through scales and flesh with equal ease. Smaller snakes lunged at Naruto's throat only to be caught and ripped in half. Orochimaru's tail swung like a battering ram, catching Naruto in the chest hard enough to crater the wall behind him. Naruto pulled himself from the stone, ribs already healing from where they'd been shattered, and launched himself back into the fray with a bestial roar. "You still don't understand, do you?" Orochimaru's voice echoed from multiple mouths, distorted by his transformation. "I made you. Every ability you possess, every power you wield, it all comes from me. You're my greatest creation, my perfect weapon." Naruto's only response was to drive his claws into Orochimaru's serpentine body, tearing through scales and muscle, searching for the vital organs hidden within the massive form. "Without me, you'd still be that pathetic child crying in the streets of Konoha." Orochimaru's tail wrapped around Naruto, crushing, attempting to break bones that refused to break. "I gave you strength, I gave you power, I gave you purpose." Naruto's claws found purchase in the coils and began to cut. Adamantine sliced through the Sannin's flesh, blood spraying in arterial gouts. "You should be grateful." Orochimaru's voice rose to a shriek. "I transformed you from a demon container into a god of war. Everything you are, you owe to me." For the first time since the fight began, Naruto spoke. His voice was barely human, distorted by rage and the fused Nine Tails chakra surging through his system. "You took everything." His claws found Orochimaru's spine and severed it. The Sannin's serpent form convulsed, portions of it beginning to lose coordination. But Orochimaru had survived worse. His mouth opened impossibly wide, and another version of himself began to emerge, the true body, hidden within the snake form, preparing to escape. Naruto didn't let him. His hand shot out, catching Orochimaru's emerging form by the throat, his adamantine claws puncturing through the soft tissue of his neck. For a moment, their eyes met, amber and gold, creation and creator, weapon and forge. "You're right," Naruto said softly, his voice carrying the weight of 5 years of hunting, 5 years of rage. "You did make me into this. And now I'm going to show you exactly what you created." What happened next made Yugito, watching from the doorway, take an involuntary step back. The fused Nine Tails chakra exploded outward, not as a separate entity but as an integral part of Naruto's being. His body transformed, not into a full-tailed beast form but into something that blended human and demon into a singular, terrifying whole. His muscles swelled, his claws extended another 6 inches, his fangs elongated, and his eyes blazed with crimson light overlaid with amber. This was the berserker state, the apex predator form that he'd kept carefully controlled for 5 years. And Orochimaru, the legendary Sannin, knew true fear. "No," he whispered, "no, this isn't." Naruto ripped him from the snake body and slammed him into the ground hard enough to crack the stone floor. Then he began to systematically tear him apart. Not quickly, not mercifully, but with the methodical precision of someone who dreamed of this moment for 5 years. Orochimaru's screams filled the chamber as Naruto's claws found every nerve cluster, every pain receptor, every vulnerable point on the Sannin's body. Flesh was torn away in strips. Bones were broken and re-broken. And through it all, Naruto's healing factor ensured that Orochimaru didn't die quickly. "Please," the Sannin finally gasped, his legendary composure shattered. "Please, I can give you anything, power, knowledge, the secrets of the..." Naruto's claws pierced through Orochimaru's chest, finding his heart. "You already gave me everything," Naruto said quietly. "You made me into a weapon. And weapons destroy." He crushed the heart in his hand. Orochimaru convulsed once, twice, his golden eyes going wide with disbelief. After everything, after surviving battles with Hanzo, after escaping the third Hokage's seal, after decades of immortality research, this was how he died. Killed by his own creation. The legendary Sannin's body went still. Naruto stood over the corpse, his berserker form gradually receding as the battle rage faded. His claws retracted, his muscles returned to their normal proportions. His breathing steadied. It was done. 5 years of hunting, 53 facilities destroyed, hundreds of operatives killed, and finally, the man who'd made him into a monster lay dead at his feet. He should have felt satisfaction, relief, something. Instead, he felt empty. Naruto. He turned to find Yugito standing in the doorway, her eyes wide as she took in the carnage. She'd seen the end of the fight, seen his transformation into something that was barely human. Seen what he truly was when the careful control slipped. "It's over," he said quietly. "Orochimaru is dead." Yugito approached slowly, stepping over the ruined snake body, avoiding the pools of blood that covered the floor. She stood beside him, looking down at the Sannin's corpse. "You did it," she said. "You got your revenge." "Yeah." His voice was hollow. "I did." They stood in silence for a long moment, the weight of what had happened settling over them. Somewhere in the facility, flames had started, either from their earlier battles or from automated defenses triggering. Smoke was beginning to fill the corridors. "We should go," Yugito said softly. "Before this place comes down." Naruto nodded, but didn't move. He stared at Orochimaru's body, at the man who'd tortured him, transformed him, made him into a living weapon. After 5 years, after everything, it seemed too simple. Too easy. What do I do now? The question echoed in his mind as they left the chamber. For 5 years, his entire existence had been focused on hunting Orochimaru. Every mission had been chosen to put him on the Sannin's trail. Every skill he'd learned had been honed for this confrontation. And now it was over. They emerged from the facility as flames consumed it behind them, smoke rising into the night sky. In the distance, Yugito could see Sasuke's figure disappearing into the forest. The Uchiha had survived and escaped, but that was a problem for another day. She turned to Naruto, who stood watching the fire with an expression she couldn't read beneath his mask. "What will you do now?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet. "Don't know. Never thought about after." "You could." She paused, considering her words carefully. "You could come back to Kumo with me. You saved my life. Helped destroy one of our greatest enemies. The Raikage would grant you sanctuary. I'm a missing nin from Konoha. A mercenary. A weapon." He finally looked at her. "Your village wouldn't want someone like me. My village wants people who can fight." Who can survive? Who can protect what matters? She met his gaze steadily. That's you. Before he could respond, she swayed slightly, exhaustion finally catching up with her. The fight with Kabuto, the Two Tails transformation, the stress of the entire mission, it all hit her at once. Naruto caught her before she fell, the same way he had 2 nights ago after the Akatsuki battle. You need rest, he said. So do you, she murmured, but her eyes were already closing. Naruto looked around at the burning facility, at the forest beyond, at the night sky above. Somewhere out there, the Akatsuki was hunting Jinchuriki. Somewhere out there, Konoha continued without him. Somewhere out there, the world kept turning. But for now, in this moment, he had something he hadn't had in 5 years. A choice about what came next. He lifted Yugito carefully and began walking away from the flames, into the forest, toward somewhere. He'd figure it out as he went. Behind him, Orochimaru's final facility collapsed into ash, and the legend of the monster who'd hunted a Sannin to extinction spread across the Shinobi World. The weapon had completed its purpose. What came next would determine if he could become something more. Time skip. Orochimaru's main base, 1 day after. When Yugito woke for the second time in as many days, she found herself in what had once been Orochimaru's personal quarters. The room was surprisingly austere for a Sannin, all function, no decoration. Medical texts lined the shelves, and in the corner, Naruto sat surrounded by scattered files and scrolls, his mask removed and set aside as he studied the documents with intense focus. It was the first time she'd seen his full face. The whisker scars were deeper than she'd expected, carved into his cheeks like brands. His features were sharp, hardened by years of solitary survival, but there was something almost boyish about him when he was concentrating. He couldn't be more than 15 or 16 years old. So young, she thought. And already he's killed a Sannin. You're awake, Naruto said without looking up, his enhanced hearing having detected the change in her breathing. Yugito sat up, testing her body. Fully recovered now, the Two Tails healing had completed its work while she slept. What are you reading? Orochimaru's intelligence files on the Akatsuki. He held up a scroll covered in the Sannin's distinctive handwriting. Names, abilities, locations, patterns. He was paranoid enough to track them, probably worried they'd come after him eventually. And, Yugito moved closer, peering over his shoulder. What did you find? Naruto's amber eyes were cold as he met her gaze. I'm going to hunt them down. Eliminate the threat. All of them? Naruto, they're S-rank criminals. Each one is deadly. So am I. He returned his attention to the files. They came after you once. They'll come again, and they've been hunting Jinchuriki for years. Whatever they're planning, it's not good. Yugito felt something warm flutter in her chest at his words, the implication that he was doing this, at least in part, for her safety. But his next words crushed that hope. Besides, I don't need them interfering with my work. They've already sent members after me twice. Better to remove the problem permanently. Of course, she thought with a mixture of disappointment and understanding. Everything is tactical with him. He doesn't do anything without a reason. But the Two Tails rumbled in her mind, disagreeing. He lies to himself, kid. I can smell his emotions. Fear, for you. Concern, for you. He just doesn't know how to express it. How many are there? She asked, pushing aside her thoughts. 9 confirmed members. I killed one 2 years ago. You saw me kill another. Hidan survived, but he's out of commission. Naruto's claws extended slightly, unconsciously. That leaves 6 active targets. Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki are the ones who'll come for me next based on the patrol patterns Orochimaru tracked. Itachi Uchiha, Yugito repeated. The one who massacred his entire clan. The same, Orochimaru was obsessed with him, wanted his body for the Sharingan. Naruto gestured to a particularly thick file. He tracked Itachi's movements for years. Last confirmed location was near the border between Fire and Rain Country. That's where we go then. Naruto finally looked at her fully. You don't have to come. You could return to your village, report Orochimaru's death, resume your life. My village thinks I'm dead, Yugito said quietly. The words hung in the air between them. You could tell them otherwise. I could. She looked away, but they found the battlefield. Found evidence of the Akatsuki. They probably held a memorial, reassigned my duties, moved on. Her voice was bitter. I was forgotten rather quickly, it seems. The Two Tails snarled in her mindscape. Fools. They never appreciated what we were. Naruto studied her for a long moment. So you're hunting Akatsuki to protect your village from future threats? Yes, Yugito said, though even she wasn't entirely convinced by her own reasoning. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you're enjoying this. It wasn't a question. Yugito's eyes snapped to his, startled by his perceptiveness. Was she enjoying this? The freedom of traveling without orders, without schedules, without the weight of her village's expectations? The thrill of fighting beside someone who didn't treat her like a weapon to be aimed and fired? Maybe, she admitted finally. Naruto's lips quirked in what might have been a smile. At least you're honest about it. Time skip. Konohagakure, Hokage's office. Tsunade Senju, 5th Hokage of Konohagakure, listened to the report with growing disbelief. Across from her, Jiraiya stood with his arms crossed, his expression troubled. Orochimaru is dead, she repeated, as if saying it aloud would make it more believable. The surviving sound ninja are certain? Completely, the Anbu operative confirmed. They found his body, what was left of it, in the ruins of his main facility. The cause of death was extensive trauma. Witnesses report a masked individual with adamantine claws tore through the entire compound. Tsunade's amber eyes met Jiraiya's, the same one who's been destroying his facilities for years. Kitsune, Jiraiya said softly. That's what the mercenary community calls him. A ghost who takes the most dangerous missions and never fails. Do we have any identification? No confirmed visual ID. Always wears a mask, but Jiraiya pulled out a scroll. I've been tracking rumors for months. The timeline is too perfect. Naruto disappeared 5 years ago, kidnapped by Orochimaru's agents. 6 months later, Kitsune appears and begins systematically destroying Orochimaru's network. Tsunade's hand tightened on her desk. You think Naruto Uzumaki is alive? That he's this mercenary? I think Orochimaru experimented on him. I think something went wrong, or right, from the boy's perspective. And I think he's been hunting his captor ever since. That's a lot of speculation based on timing alone. I know my godson, Jiraiya said quietly. I may never have met him, but I know Minato's stubbornness. I know Kushina's fury. If Naruto survived what Orochimaru did to him, he wouldn't rest until he had his revenge. Tsunade was silent for a long moment. She'd been Hokage for 3 years now, ever since the invasion when Hiruzen fell. One of her first acts had been reviewing the case of Naruto Uzumaki's disappearance, a failure that haunted her predecessor's final years. If he's alive, we need to bring him home. Agreed, but there's more. Jiraiya's expression darkened. Itachi Uchiha has been spotted near the Fire Country border, and intelligence suggests he's being actively hunted by the Akatsuki. The organization he's part of? Was part of. Something's changed. Either he's betrayed them or they've decided he's a liability. Jiraiya's eyes hardened, and that means Sasuke will go after him. The boy's been consumed by revenge for years. If he learns Itachi's location, nothing will stop him. Tsunade leaned back in her chair, feeling the weight of command pressing down on her. Assemble a retrieval team. Priority 1. Bring Sasuke back to Konoha. Priority 2. If you encounter this Kitsune, confirm his identity. If it's Naruto Uzumaki, she paused. Bring him home too. Time skip. 2 weeks later, Team Kakashi moved through the forest with practiced efficiency. Kakashi Hatake led, his Sharingan eye uncovered and alert. Behind him, Sakura Haruno, no longer the academy fangirl but a medic nin trained by the Hokage herself, kept pace easily. Beside her, Sai sketched in his notepad even while moving, his root training making multitasking second nature. Sai, Sakura said, glancing at the emotionless boy who'd replaced Sasuke on their team. What are you drawing? A flower? Sai replied with his practiced fake smile. I read that giving flowers to teammates improves morale. Sakura couldn't help but smile slightly. When Sai had first joined their team 6 months ago, his complete lack of social skills had been infuriating. But slowly, being around them had changed him. He'd started asking questions about emotions, trying to understand what he'd been trained to suppress. That's actually thoughtful. Thank you. Yo, Kakashi called back. Save the bonding for when we're not tracking a missing nin who could kill us all. Behind them, Team 8 and Team 10 followed at a distance, providing support and additional search capabilities. Hinata's Byakugan swept the terrain, while Kiba's nose tracked scents, and Shino's insects scouted ahead. Kakashi-sensei, Sakura said quietly, do you really think we can bring Sasuke back? The copy ninja's visible eye crinkled. I think we have to try. He's family, even if he doesn't remember that anymore. What Kakashi didn't say, what he couldn't say, was that he was also searching for another ghost. Minato's son, the child he'd failed to protect, failed to even meet after his sensei's death. If Jiraiya's theory was correct, if Naruto Uzumaki was alive, then Kakashi had a lot to answer for. Meanwhile, Jiraiya traveled alone, moving faster than any team could manage. His sage training let him cover ground at incredible speed, and his spy network gave him information the Anbu could only dream of. He was closing in on the location where Orochimaru's notes had been found, a former facility near the border. If his godson was alive, if he was tracking the Akatsuki using Orochimaru's intelligence, he would show up there eventually. Please, Jiraiya thought. Please let it be him. Let me finally meet Minato's son. Time skip. Abandoned Uchiha hideout. Unknown location. Sasuke Uchiha stood before the coordinates he'd extracted from Orochimaru's notes, his Sharingan active and burning with anticipation. Behind him, Team Taka waited, Suigetsu with his massive blade, Jugo struggling with his curse mark's influence, and Karen tracking chakra signatures with her sensory abilities. He's here, Karen confirmed. Itachi's chakra signature. It's weak though. Something's wrong with him. I don't care if he's dying, Sasuke said coldly. I'm going to be the one to kill him. What Sasuke didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that Itachi had deliberately leaked his location. The older Uchiha's illness was terminal, his body failing after years of stress and overuse of the Mangekyo Sharingan. He had one final task before death, to free his little brother from the curse of hatred. And to do that, he needed Sasuke to kill him. But fate had other plans for this reunion. Former Uchiha compound, present day. Naruto crouched on a hillside overlooking the abandoned compound, his enhanced senses mapping every detail. Two signatures inside, one familiar from Orochimaru's files, one matching the description of Kisame Hoshigaki. They're waiting, he murmured. Beside him, Yugito tensed. A trap? Probably. Doesn't matter. His claws extended. We're going in anyway. What neither of them sensed was the multiple parties converging on the same location. Sasuke's team approaching from the east, the Konoha teams closing from the south, Jiraiya coming from the north, and hidden in the shadows, Black Zetsu watching everything unfold. They moved down the hillside, Naruto's enhanced reflexes guiding them through the perimeter defenses. The compound was old, dating back to before the Uchiha massacre, and filled with the scent of death and abandonment. This place, Yugito whispered. It feels wrong. It should. An entire clan was murdered here. Naruto's nose twitched. And we're not alone. From the main building, two figures emerged. Kisame Hoshigaki grinned, his shark-like teeth gleaming, Samahada wrapped in bandages on his back. Beside him, Itachi Uchiha stood perfectly still, his Sharingan already active, his expression unreadable. Well, Kisame laughed. If it isn't the little monster who killed Kakuzu. And you brought a Jinchuriki with you. How considerate, Kisame, Itachi said quietly. We need at least one of them alive. I know. Capture, not kill. But come on, partner, let me have a little fun first. Naruto's stance shifted into a combat-ready position. You're the ones who sent teams after Yugito. After other Jinchuriki. And you're the one who was a Jinchuriki yourself, Kisame said, his eyes gleaming with interest. Or were you? There's something different about you. The Nine Tails chakra is there, but it's fused. Fascinating. I wonder what Pain will make of you. He won't get the chance. Naruto's claws caught the light. Neither will you. Before anyone could move, another voice cut through the tension. Stay away from him. Sasuke Uchiha emerged from the tree line, Sharingan blazing, lightning crackling around his hand. Behind him, Team Taka fanned out, weapons ready. Naruto glanced at the newcomer, taking in the Uchiha features, the age, the intensity. This was the boy Orochimaru had wanted as a vessel, the one who'd been training at the facility when Naruto killed the Sannin. The little brother arrives, Itachi said softly, and for just a moment, something that might have been pain crossed his face. Itachi, Sasuke's voice was pure hatred. You're mine. I don't care about your family drama, Naruto said flatly. I'm here for them. He gestured to Kisame and Itachi. Sasuke's Sharingan fixed on Naruto, taking in the mask, the claws, the aura of barely contained violence. You're the one who killed Orochimaru. I saw what you did to him. He had it coming. I don't care. Itachi is mine to kill. Stay out of my way, or I'll go through you too. Naruto's response was simple. No. The tension ratcheted up another notch. 4 different parties, each with their own objectives, each willing to kill to achieve them. Kisami's grin widened. This is going to be fun. Everything exploded into motion at once. Sasuke lunged for Itachi, Chidori screaming in his hand. Itachi met him with taijutsu, the two Uchiha clashing in a display of speed and precision that would have killed most shinobi instantly. Kisame moved for Yugito, recognizing her as the easier Jinchuriki capture. Nothing personal, sweetheart, but pain wants you alive. But Naruto intercepted him, claws meeting Samahada in a shower of sparks. The massive sword tried to absorb his chakra and recoiled, as if burned. The fused Nine Tails chakra wasn't something it could easily drain. What the hell? Kisami's eyes widened. What are you? Something your sword can't handle. Naruto's kick sent Kisame skidding backward. Yugito joined the attack, her two tails chakra blazing as she launched a fire-style technique. Kisame countered with water-style, the two elements colliding in an explosion of steam. Team Taka tried to intervene in the Uchiha brothers' fight, but Itachi's genjutsu trapped them before they could take 3 steps. They collapsed, screaming at visions only they could see. The battle intensified. Kisami's water techniques flooded the compound, turning it into his ideal fighting environment. But Naruto's enhanced senses tracked him through the murky water, his claws finding flesh even when visibility was 0. You're good, Kisame admitted, blood streaming from a dozen cuts. Better than Kakuzu, even. But you haven't seen what I can really do. He fused with Samahada, transforming into a shark-like creature with even greater strength and speed. His attacks became relentless, forcing Naruto onto the defensive. Yugito tried to help, but the water environment favored Kisame too much. Every fire-style technique was extinguished before it could reach him. Naruto, she called out. Fall back. But Naruto didn't fall back. Couldn't fall back. The Nine Tails chakra was surging in his system, responding to the threat, pushing him toward the edge of his control. His amber eyes began to glow brighter, taking on a crimson tint. No, Yugito whispered, recognizing the signs. Not here, not now, but it was too late. The berserker state activated, Naruto's body transformed, muscles swelling, claws extending, fangs elongating. The fused Nine Tails chakra exploded outward, not as a separate entity but as an integral part of his being. His presence became oppressive, predatory, apocalyptic. Even Kisame hesitated. What the? Naruto moved. What followed wasn't a fight. It was a massacre. Even in the water, even in Kisami's ideal environment, Naruto tore through him. The Shark Man's enhanced strength meant nothing. His regeneration was too slow. His techniques were bypassed entirely by raw, overwhelming force. Naruto's claws found Kisami's chest and ripped through it, found his gills and tore them open, found his arms and severed them at the elbows. Itachi, Kisame screamed, help, but Itachi was locked in combat with Sasuke, and even if he'd wanted to help, he couldn't. His little brother had grown strong, the Chidori evolved into new forms, the Sharingan mastered to terrifying degrees. Naruto's final strike removed Kisami's head from his shoulders. The legendary tailless-tailed beast, one of the Akatsuki's most powerful members, died in a pool of his own blood. Yugito watched in horror and awe as Naruto stood over the corpse, his berserker form gradually receding but his eyes still blazing with barely controlled fury. Across the compound, Itachi and Sasuke's fight reached its climax. The older Uchiha, weakened by illness and years of stress, had pushed himself to the limit. His final genjutsu shattered Sasuke's perception of reality, showing him truths that would reshape everything the younger Uchiha believed. And then Itachi Uchiha collapsed, his body finally giving out. Brother? Sasuke's voice was confused, the hatred temporarily replaced by concern. Before anyone could react, space itself distorted. A figure in an orange mask appeared, his presence sending chills through everyone present. Sasuke Uchiha, the masked man said, "Come with me. There's much you need to learn about your brother. About the truth. Who are you? Someone who knows what really happened to your clan." The masked man's single visible eye fixed on Sasuke. "And someone who can give you the power to avenge them properly." Sasuke glanced at Itachi's still form, at the mysterious masked man, at the chaos around him. Finally, he nodded. Space distorted again, and they were gone. Team Taka, still trapped in Itachi's residual genjutsu, remained unconscious. The masked man's eye had lingered on Naruto for just a moment before vanishing, taking in the berserker form, the fused chakra, the adamantine claws. Recognition flickered in that gaze. The Nine Tails, asterisk to be thought. But change, corrupted, interesting. Naruto's body was still pulsating with excess energy, his breathing heavy, his mind struggling to pull back from the berserker state. Yugito approached cautiously, her hand extended. "Naruto, it's over. You can come back now." His eyes focused on her, and for a moment, she saw something feral and dangerous. Then recognition returned, and the energy began to fade. "Yugito," he rasped. "Did he? He's dead. You killed him." She touched his arm gently. "But we need to go. Now." I can sense chakra signatures approaching. Multiple teams. And then they arrived. Team Kakashi burst through the tree line first, followed by teams 8 and 10. They took in the scene, the destroyed compound, the corpses, the unconscious Team Taka, Itachi's collapsed form, and the two figures standing in the center of it all. Kakashi's visible eye widened as he saw the blonde hair, the whisker marks, the claws. "Naruto?" he whispered. From another direction, Jiraiya appeared, landing heavily in the compound. His eyes found Naruto immediately, and his expression transformed from hope to shock to grief in the span of a heartbeat. "My godson," he breathed. "What did they do to you?" Naruto's hand went to his mask, which had been torn during the battle. His face was fully visible now, the deep whisker scars, the amber eyes, the expression of someone who'd seen and done terrible things. Sakura stepped forward, her medical training warring with her shock. "Naruto? But you? We thought you were dead. You saw Sasuke?" The question came out before she could stop it. "Was he okay? Did you talk to him?" Naruto's laugh was harsh. "Saw him. He fought his brother. I don't know what happened after. Some masked bastard took him away." "We need to pursue," Kakashi started. "No," Jiraiya interrupted, his eyes never leaving Naruto. "We need to talk. Naruto, my godfather." Naruto's voice was flat. "Jiraiya of the Sannin, the Toad Sage, I know who you are. Then you know I've been searching for you. That I never stopped looking." Jiraiya took a step forward. "Come home. Come back to Konoha. Let us help you." "Help me?" Naruto's claws extended slightly. "Help me with what? I'm not broken. I'm exactly what I was made to be." "That's not true. Orochimaru tortured me for months. Broke my body and rebuilt it. Fused the 9 tails with my biology. Turned me into a weapon." Naruto's voice was cold, clinical. "And when I escaped, where was the village? Where was my godfather? Where was anyone?" Jiraiya flinched as if struck. "I searched everywhere. I never stopped, but I couldn't find you. I found myself." Naruto's amber eyes blazed. "I survived. I adapted. I hunted down the one who made me into this and I killed him. I don't need Konoha. I don't need anyone." "That's not true either," Yugito said quietly. "You saved me. You didn't have to, but you did." All eyes turned to her. Kakashi's Sharingan analyzed her chakra signature. It was vastly stronger than most. She moved closer to Naruto. Quote, Sakura studied the interaction between them, recognizing something she'd once felt for Sasuke: connection, protection, the beginning of something more. "Naruto, please, just come back to the village. Talk to Lady Tsunade. You don't have to decide anything right now, but..." "No." The finality in his voice silenced everyone. Jiraiya's expression hardened. "I'm not asking, Naruto. You're coming home. I've failed you once, I won't fail you again. Even if I have to drag you back unconscious. You're welcome to try." The tension ratcheted up. Naruto's claws extended fully. Jiraiya's chakra flared. The Konoha teams readied their weapons, torn between orders and the knowledge that they were facing someone who just killed Kisame Hoshigaki in single combat. "Don't," Kakashi warned. "Jiraiya, this isn't the way." But the Sannin was done talking. His love for his godson, his guilt over failing to find him, his desperation to make things right. It all boiled over into action. He moved with incredible speed, aiming to capture rather than kill, his techniques designed to restrain. Naruto met him head-on. The collision sent shockwaves through the compound. Jiraiya's strength was legendary, but Naruto's enhanced abilities made him far more dangerous than the Sannin had anticipated. They exchanged blows at speeds that made the younger shinobi struggle to follow. "Stop this," Jiraiya pleaded even as he fought. "I'm trying to help you. I don't need your help." Naruto's kick caught Jiraiya in the stomach with such force that it sent the Sannin flying backward, sailing through the air before crashing into a building 100 yards away. Everyone stared in shock. Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin, teacher of the 4th Hokage, had been sent flying like an academy student. "Jiraiya-sama," Sakura started toward him. "I'm fine," the Toad Sage groaned, pulling himself from the rubble. "But that boy, he's stronger than I thought." Yugito moved to Naruto's side, her two tails chakra beginning to flare. Naruto, we should go. If you release your full power, your village will sense it, Naruto said quietly. They'll know you're alive. They'll come for you. The implication hung in the air. If Yugito revealed herself, she'd have to return to Kumogakure. She'd be taken from him. And neither of them wanted that, though neither could fully articulate why. Then we go together, Yugito said. Now. Naruto grabbed her, his superhuman speed activating. They moved so fast that even Kakashi's Sharingan struggled to track them, disappearing into the forest before anyone could react. After them, Kakashi ordered, but it was futile. Naruto's enhanced abilities let him cover ground at impossible speeds, and his senses ensured he knew every pursuer's location. Within minutes, they'd vanished completely. The Konoha teams stood in the ruined compound, surrounded by corpses and questions. Jiraiya pulled himself fully upright, his hand on his stomach where Naruto had struck him. He's alive, he said softly. My godson is alive, but what he's become, he's dangerous, Sai observed clinically. His threat level exceeds most S-rank shinobi. He's hurt, Sakura countered. You saw his eyes. He's not a monster. He's someone who's been through hell and survived. He's family, Kakashi said quietly. And somehow, we're going to bring him home. But as they searched the compound, finding Itachi's body and Team Taka beginning to wake from their genjutsu-induced nightmares, they all wondered the same thing. How do you bring home someone who doesn't believe they have a home? Time skip. Unknown location, several miles away. Naruto finally stopped running when his senses confirmed they weren't being followed. He set Yugito down gently, his breathing heavy, his body still coursing with excess energy from the berserker state. That was close, Yugito said. Too close. Naruto's claws retracted. They'll keep coming. Konoha doesn't give up on their people. Even people they forgot for 5 years? I was never really one of their people. He sat down heavily against a tree. Just a container for their weapon. They probably only want me back because the Nine Tails is fused with me now. Yugito sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. That's not true. That man, your godfather, he was desperate to bring you back. Not because of the Nine Tails, but because you're his family. He's a stranger. They're all strangers. Naruto's voice was tired. I don't know them. They don't know me. What kind of family is that? The kind you build, Yugito said softly. Not the kind you're born into. They sat in silence for a long moment, both processing what had happened. Kisame was dead. Itachi was gone. Dead or dying, it didn't matter. The Akatsuki had lost 2 more members to Naruto's claws. But new complications had emerged. Konoha knew he was alive. They'd seen what he'd become, and they wouldn't stop trying to bring him back. What now? Yugito finally asked, Naruto's amber eyes fixed on the horizon, where the sun was beginning to set. We keep hunting. There are still Akatsuki members out there. Still threats to eliminate. And after that, he didn't answer, because he didn't have an answer. For 5 years, he'd focused on hunting Orochimaru. For the past few weeks, he'd focused on eliminating the Akatsuki. But what came after? What did a weapon do when there were no more targets? I don't know, he admitted finally. Yugito's hand found his, her fingers intertwining with his. The gesture was simple, natural, and it made something in Naruto's chest tighten uncomfortably. We'll figure it out, she said. Together. Naruto didn't pull away, didn't argue, just sat there as the sun set, holding the hand of the only person who'd chosen to stay beside him. Behind them, in the shadows, Black Zetsu watched from the trees. He'd seen everything, the berserker transformation, the fused Nine Tails chakra, the connection forming between the blonde and the Kumo Jinchuriki. This changes things, Zetsu thought. The Nine Tails is no longer extractable in the traditional way. But that power, if Mother could absorb it directly. He sank into the ground, disappearing to report to Pain. The Akatsuki's plans would need adjustment. The weapon they'd hoped to capture had become something far more complex. And far more dangerous. Miles away, Jiraiya sat in a tree, watching the direction Naruto had fled. He'd tracked them this far before losing the trail, his senses nowhere near as refined as his godson's. Minato, he whispered to the night sky. Kushina, I'm sorry, I found your son, but I don't know how to save him. He's become something I don't understand. Something I'm not sure can be saved. But even as he said it, he knew he'd never stop trying. Because that's what family did. Even if the family member didn't want to be saved. Even if saving him might be impossible. The hunt would continue. The Akatsuki would regroup. Konoha would search, and at the center of it all, a boy who'd been turned into a weapon struggled to understand what it meant to be human again. The convergence had happened, now came the consequences. Time skip. 3 weeks after the Uchiha compound. The safe house was modest. A hunter's cabin deep in the forests between fire and rain country, far enough from civilization that even Naruto's paranoia could relax fractionally. They'd been using it as a base while gathering intelligence on the remaining Akatsuki members, tracking rumors and following leads that mostly went nowhere. Yugito watched Naruto from across the room as he studied yet another map, his amber eyes tracing routes and marking locations. 3 weeks of traveling together, fighting together, surviving together. 3 weeks of slowly learning each other's patterns, habits, quirks. She'd learned that he barely slept, his enhanced senses making true rest nearly impossible. That he preferred his meat nearly raw, a preference born from his altered biology. That he had a habit of unconsciously extending his claws when deep in thought, then retracting them when he realized what he was doing. And she'd learned that beneath the weapon, beneath the monster, there was still a boy who'd never learned how to be anything else. "You're staring," Naruto said without looking up. "Just thinking," Yugito replied, moving to sit across from him. The two tails purred in her mindscape, amused by her growing attachment. "We've been hunting for weeks and found nothing. Maybe the Akatsuki have gone underground. They're out there. They have to be." His finger traced another potential location. Pain, Conan, that masked man who took Sasuke, they're still operating. "And when we find them, what then?" Naruto's claws extended slightly. "Same thing I did to Orochimaru. To Kisame, I end them." Yugito reached across the table, her hand covering his. "And then what? After you've killed them all, what happens to you?" He pulled his hand back, standing abruptly. "Why does it matter?" "Because it matters to me." She stood as well, confronting him. "You saved my life. Multiple times. We've been traveling together, fighting together. I care about what happens to you. You shouldn't." Naruto moved toward the window, his back to her. "Caring about me is a mistake." "Why?" "Because everyone I've ever been close to ends up dead or gone." His voice was rough. "The third Hokage couldn't protect me. Jiraiya couldn't find me. Orochimaru turned me into a weapon. It's better to be alone." Yugito crossed the distance between them, her hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone. I'm here." "For how long?" He finally turned to face her. "Until your village finds you? Until the Akatsuki kills you trying to get to me? Until you realize that being around me is too dangerous? I'm not going anywhere." Her golden eyes met his amber ones. "I made that choice when I decided to leave with you. You made a stupid choice." "Maybe." A small smile crossed her face. "But I don't regret it." They stood close now, closer than they'd been before. Naruto could smell her scent, cinnamon and smoke, overlaid with the wild musk of the two tails. His enhanced senses picked up her elevated heartbeat, the slight dilation of her pupils, the warmth radiating from her body. "Yugito," he said quietly. "I can't, I'm not." She waited, giving him time to find the words. "I thought I'd be dead by now," he finally admitted. "I thought killing Orochimaru would be the end of it. That I'd die in that fight, or the next one, or the one after that. I never thought about after. About having something to live for beyond revenge. And now?" Her voice was soft. "Now I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to be anything other than a weapon." His hand came up, almost touching her face, before falling away. "I don't know how to be what you deserve. I don't need you to be anything other than what you are." Yugito's hand caught his, bringing it back up to cup her cheek. "You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fixed. You just have to be here." For a long moment, they stood frozen, balanced on the edge of something neither had expected. Then Naruto pulled away, his expression closing off. "We should rest. Early start tomorrow. There's a lead on Zetsu in the land of rivers." Yugito watched him retreat to his corner of the cabin, watched him put distance between them, both physical and emotional. The two tails rumbled disapprovingly in her mind. Asterisk, foolish kid. He pushes away what he needs most. Asterisk, he's scared. Asterisk, Yugito thought back. Asterisk, he doesn't know how to let anyone in. Asterisk, then teach him. Or lose him to his isolation. Yugito looked at Naruto's back, at the tension in his shoulders, at the loneliness radiating from him despite his protests. She'd give him time, but she wouldn't give up. Some things were worth fighting for. Time skip. Unknown Akatsuki hideout. Sasuke Uchiha sat in darkness, his mind reeling from everything the masked man, who called himself Madara Uchiha, had told him. The truth about Itachi, the truth about the massacre. The truth about Konoha's orders. His brother hadn't been a traitor. He'd been a martyr. The village you once called home ordered the death of your entire clan, Toby said, his single visible eye watching Sasuke's reaction. Itachi was given a choice. Let the clan stage their coup and have everyone killed, or eliminate the coup himself and spare you. He chose to bear the hatred, to become the villain, so that you could live as a hero. No. Sasuke's Sharingan blazed. He killed them. He killed everyone. On the third Hokage's orders. On Danzo's manipulation. On Konoha's command. Toba's voice was measured, clinical. Your brother sacrificed everything, his reputation, his honor, his life, to protect you and the village he loved. And what did that village do? They made him a criminal. They hunted him. They celebrated when he died. Sasuke's hands clenched into fists. Why? Why would they? Because your clan was planning a coup. Because Konoha's leadership feared the Sharingan's power. Because sometimes, villages sacrifice the few to save the many. Toby leaned forward. Itachi understood this. He accepted it, but now that he's gone, now that the truth is revealed, what will you do? The Sharingan in Sasuke's eyes began to shift, the tomo spinning faster and faster as his rage built. His chakra exploded outward, taking on a darker, more sinister quality. I'll destroy it, Sasuke said quietly. I'll destroy Konoha, every elder who ordered the massacre, every shinobi who hunted my brother, every civilian who spat on the Uchiha name. I'll burn it all to ash. Toba's smile was hidden behind his mask, but his satisfaction was evident. Then join me. Join the Akatsuki. We'll give you the power to exact your revenge. Sasuke's new Mangekyo Sharingan blazed in the darkness. What do I have to do? Hidden Rain Village, Akatsuki headquarters. Pain stood before the assembled members, or rather, their spectral projections. Konan remained at his side, her paper wings folded behind her. The recent losses had been devastating. Kakuzu dead, Kisame dead, Itachi gone, and all because of one individual. Zetsu, Pain's voice carried absolute authority. Report. The plant-like figure emerged from the floor. I observed the entire battle at the Uchiha compound. The target, Naruto Uzumaki, is indeed the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. But his condition is unique. Explain. Orochimaru's experiments fused the Nine Tails chakra directly with his biology. The beast is no longer a separate entity but an integral part of his system. Extraction using the Geto statue would likely kill him and yield nothing. The chakra is too integrated to separate. Pain's Rinnegan eyes narrowed. Then he's useless to our plans. Not entirely. Zetsu's black half grinned. His power is immense. If we could capture him, control him, we'd have a weapon far more valuable than a tailed beast. The fused chakra combined with those adamantine claws makes him nearly unstoppable in close combat. He's killed 2 of our members, Konan said quietly. Attempting to capture him would be extremely dangerous. Which is why we'll lure him out. Pain's gaze swept across the projections. He's been hunting us systematically. We'll give him what he wants, a location, information, an apparent opening. And when he comes, we'll be ready with all 6 paths, Konan finished. Precisely. Pain's hands clasped behind his back. Send word through our informant networks. Make it look like a leak, not a trap. Let him think he's found us. And the Konoha shinobi? Zetsu asked. Jiraiya of the Sannin is tracking the same information. He's obsessed with bringing his godson home. Pain's expression was unreadable. If my former teacher interferes, he'll share the target's fate. No one stands in the way of our goals. Not even the man who once taught me. 2 weeks later, border of the Land of Rain. Naruto and Yugito crouched in the underbrush, studying the village ahead. The Hidden Rain, a place shrouded in perpetual downpour, where Hanzo once ruled and something darker now controlled. This is it, Naruto said, his enhanced senses picking up multiple chakra signatures ahead. According to the information, Pain's base is somewhere in this village. It could be a trap, Yugito warned. The information came too easily. Probably as a trap. Naruto's claws extended. Doesn't matter. If they're here, I'm ending them. Yugito studied his profile, seeing the determination burning in his eyes. 3 weeks of growing closer, 3 weeks of almost breaking through his walls, and now he was ready to throw himself into what might be a suicide mission. Asterisk, he's going to get himself killed. Asterisk, the 2 tails rumbled. Asterisk, his rage makes him reckless. Naruto, Yugito said quietly. Let's be careful. We go in quietly, gather information first. No. His voice was flat. I'm done being careful. I'm done waiting. They want me? They can have me. Before she could argue further, another presence made itself known. Naruto's nose twitched, catching a familiar scent on the rain-soaked air. "He's here," Naruto growled. From the shadows, Jiraiya emerged, looking older and more worn than when they'd last met. His eyes found Naruto immediately, relief and concern warring on his features. "So you got the information too," the Sannin said. "You followed me." Naruto's claws extended fully. "I told you to stay away. I'm not letting you walk into a trap alone." Jiraiya's gaze shifted to Yugito, taking in her protective stance beside Naruto. "Even if you have company." Yugito tensed but remained silent. These two needed to resolve their issues, and her interference would only complicate matters. "This isn't your fight," Naruto said. "You're my godson. Everything involving you is my fight." Jiraiya stepped closer. "Naruto, please. This is obviously a trap. They want you to come. They're ready for you." "Good. Then I won't have to hunt them down one by one." "Listen to yourself." Jiraiya's voice rose. "You're talking about suicide. Pain isn't some random Akatsuki member. He's their leader. He's powerful enough that even I would hesitate to face him alone." "Then it's a good thing I'm stronger than you." Naruto's tone was cold. The words hit Jiraiya like a physical blow. He'd trained the fourth Hokage, had fought in 2 great ninja wars, had earned the title of legendary Sannin. And his godson, whom he'd never met, never trained, never protected, was claiming to surpass him. The worst part was, Jiraiya believed it might be true. "At least let me help," Jiraiya said finally. "We go in together, we watch each other's backs. If it's a trap, we're more likely to survive with numbers." Naruto was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded curtly. "Fine, but don't get in my way." Yugito placed a hand on his arm. "Naruto, be careful in there." He looked at her, and for just a moment, his expression softened. "You should stay here. If things go bad, I'm coming with you." Her tone left no room for argument. "We're in this together, remember?" Something passed between them, an understanding, an acknowledgement of the bond they'd formed. Naruto nodded slowly. "Stay close to me. If I tell you to run, you run." "Not a chance." Her small smile was fierce. "But I appreciate the concern." They moved into the hidden rain village under the cover of darkness and perpetual rain. The streets were empty, the civilians long since fled or cowering in their homes. The entire place felt like a tomb. Naruto's senses guided them deeper, following the strongest chakra signature to a massive tower in the village center. Every instinct screamed danger, but he pushed forward anyway. "This ends today, asterisk," he thought. Asterisk one way or another. Time skip. The tower's interior was vast and empty, designed to intimidate. At its center, a single figure waited, orange hair, multiple piercings, Rinnegan eyes that seemed to see through everything. "Pain." Naruto Uzumaki, Pain's voice echoed through the chamber. "You've been quite troublesome, killing our members, disrupting our plans. Did you truly think we wouldn't respond? I was counting on it." Naruto's claws extended. "Saves me the trouble of hunting you down." Bold words. Pain's expression didn't change. "But you face a god now, not your lesser opponents." From the shadows, 5 more figures emerged, each bearing the same Rinnegan eyes, each moving with perfect synchronization. The 6 paths of Pain, all present and ready for battle. Jiraiya's eyes widened in recognition and horror. "Those bodies, I know some of them. They're former students, people who died years ago." "What have you done?" "I have transcended death itself," Pain said. "These bodies are merely vessels for my will. Through them, I am omnipresent, omnipotent, a god. You're just another monster playing at divinity." Naruto's stance shifted into combat readiness. "And I kill monsters." Before anyone could react, paper began to swirl around Yugito. Konan appeared from the walls themselves, her paper techniques creating a cage that separated Yugito from the others. "Your companion will not interfere," Konan said coldly. "This battle is beyond her." "Naruto." Yugito's chakra flared, the 2 tails' power burning away the paper. But more paper came, an endless stream, forcing her into a defensive battle against an opponent whose abilities seemed perfectly designed to counter her flames. "Damn it." Naruto started toward her. The Diva Path's hand rose. Shinra Tensai. The massive repulsive force caught Naruto mid-step, slamming him backward through 3 pillars before he crashed into the far wall. The impact would have killed a normal human. Naruto pulled himself from the rubble, his body already healing from the broken bones and ruptured organs. "Impressive durability," Pain observed. "But can it withstand this?" All 6 paths attacked at once. The Asura path unleashed a barrage of missiles. The animal path summoned massive creatures. The human path reached for Naruto's soul. The Preta path moved to absorb his chakra. The Naraka path summoned the King of Hell. And the Diva path prepared another devastating Shinra Tensai. Naruto met them head-on with berserker fury. His claws found the animal path first, severing its throat before it could summon more creatures. The human path's grab missed as Naruto's enhanced reflexes let him dodge at the last possible second. His kick shattered the Preta path's ribs, sending it flying. But the Diva path's Shinra Tensai caught him again, the repulsive force far stronger than before. Naruto's body cratered into the floor, then was immediately pulled back by Bansho Tenin, the attractive force. Right into the Asura path's point-blank missile barrage. The explosion consumed Naruto completely. Smoke and fire filled the chamber. Naruto. Yugito's scream was anguished as she struggled against Conan's relentless paper assault. From the smoke, a figure emerged. Burned, bloodied, but already healing. Naruto's eyes blazed with crimson light overlaying the amber, the fused Nine Tails chakra responding to the threat. Not enough. His voice was distorted, taking on the undertones of something inhuman. Jiraiya watched in horror as his godson's body began to transform. No, Naruto, don't, if you lose control. But it was too late. The berserker state activated fully. What emerged from the smoke wasn't entirely human anymore. Naruto's muscles had swelled to inhuman proportions. His claws extended an additional 6 inches and wreathed in crimson gold chakra that burned like fire. His fangs had elongated, his eyes blazed with predatory fury, and his presence became oppressive, a physical weight that made even pain hesitate. Interesting, the Diva path said. You've merged with the Nine Tails so completely that you can access its power without transformation. But can raw power overcome a god? Naruto's answer was a roar that shook the entire tower. He moved faster than before, his enhanced abilities pushed to their absolute limit. The Asura path tried to intercept. Naruto's claws tore through it like paper, bisecting the body in a single strike. The Preta path attempted to absorb his chakra. Naruto grabbed its head and crushed it like a melon, the fused chakra burning through its absorption capabilities. Shinra Tensai. The Diva path's repulsive force hit Naruto at full power, sending him crashing through the tower wall and out into the rain-soaked village beyond. Naruto's body impacted a building, demolishing it. He pulled himself from the rubble, bones resetting instantly, flesh reknitting, his healing factor working overtime. The 6 paths pursued, landing around him in a coordinated pattern. Pain's voice came from all of them simultaneously. You cannot win. I am God, I am Pain, I am. Naruto exploded forward, his speed exceeding anything he'd shown before. His claws found the human path and gutted it, spilling intestines onto the rain-soaked street. His kick sent the Naraka path flying through 3 buildings. The animal path summoned a massive dog creature. Naruto tore through it with his bare hands, then used its corpse as a weapon to bludgeon the summoner. Impossible, Pain said through the remaining paths. Your power, it's increasing. Because it was. The more damage Naruto took, the more his berserker state intensified. The more he killed, the stronger the fused Nine Tails chakra became. He was entering a feedback loop of escalating violence. And he was bringing down the entire village in the process. Buildings collapsed as Naruto and the paths clashed through them. Streets cratered under the force of their impacts. The rain itself seemed to evaporate around Naruto's superheated chakra. Inside the tower, Yugito fought desperately against Konan, but the paper techniques were relentless. Every flame she created was smothered by overwhelming quantities of paper. Every attack was deflected. Then she heard Naruto's roar from outside, inhuman, filled with rage and pain and something that sounded almost like despair. No, Yugito whispered, he's losing himself. The Two Tails voice was grave. Asterisk. The berserker state is consuming him. If he doesn't regain control soon, he'll destroy everything, including himself. Yugito's chakra exploded outward, her partial transformation giving her the strength to blast through Konan's defenses. She didn't care if her village sensed it. She didn't care about the consequences. Naruto needed her. She burst from the tower into the devastated village beyond. What she saw made her blood run cold. Naruto stood in the center of a crater, surrounded by the broken bodies of 4 paths. His claws dripped with blood and oil and chakra. His body was covered in wounds that healed as fast as they appeared. And his eyes, there was almost nothing human left in them. The remaining Diva path, the primary body, stood across from him, preparing what looked like a final, devastating technique. You are strong, Pain acknowledged. Stronger than I anticipated, but strength alone is not enough to defeat a god. His hands came together. Chibaku Tensai. A small black orb launched into the sky above them, and then the entire village began to tear itself apart. Buildings, streets, rubble, everything was pulled upward toward the orb with irresistible force. Naruto tried to resist, his claws finding purchase in the ground, but the gravitational pull was too strong. He was lifted into the air, along with thousands of tons of debris, all of it converging on the black orb to form a massive sphere of compressed earth and stone. Naruto. Yugito's scream was lost in the roar of destruction. From the entrance to the village, Jiraiya watched in horror. That technique. It's the same one the Sage of Six Paths used to create the moon. Nothing can break free from that gravitational prison. But they'd all underestimated Naruto's fury. Inside the sphere of compressed earth, entombed in darkness, Naruto's berserker state reached its peak. The fused Nine Tails chakra exploded outward with such force that the entire sphere cracked. Then shattered. Naruto descended from the sky like a meteor, his claws wreathed in chakra so intense it looked like golden fire. He crashed into the Diva path with enough force to create a crater 50 feet deep. Shinra Tensai. Pain's strongest repulsive force activated. Naruto pushed through it. The adamantine-reinforced bones in his body cracked and reformed instantly, his healing factor working faster than the damage could accumulate. He walked through the technique that could level cities, his claws extended toward Pain's throat. Impossible, Pain whispered, even the almighty push cannot stop you? Nothing stops me. Each word was punctuated by another step forward, another inch gained against the devastating technique. Naruto's claws found Pain's chest and drove through it, piercing vital organs. But that wasn't enough. He ripped his claws sideways, opening the Diva path from sternum to hip. The body collapsed, but Pain wasn't dead. The real body was hidden elsewhere, controlling these corpses like puppets. Naruto's enhanced senses finally pinpointed it, up in the tower, in a hidden chamber, surrounded by chakra receivers. He leapt toward it, and was intercepted by Konan, her paper techniques creating a barrier between him and her partner. I won't let you reach him, she said, her voice carrying both determination and fear. Naruto didn't slow down, his claws tore through her paper defenses, shredding techniques that had defended against S-rank shinobi for years. Konan's eyes widened as she realized her abilities, which relied on separation and reformation, were useless against someone who could strike faster than she could split apart. His claw found her shoulder, and for a brief moment, his chakra flooded into the wound. The fused Nine Tails energy was so intense, so overwhelming, that it forced Konan's body to solidify, overriding her paper technique through pure power. She couldn't separate, couldn't reform, couldn't escape. No, she breathed. Naruto's other claw came up. Stop. Jiraiya's voice cut through the berserker haze. The Sannin stood before him, hands raised, not in attack but in supplication. Naruto, please, you've won. They're beaten. Don't do this. Get out of my way. Naruto's voice was barely intelligible, the words distorted by rage and inhuman fury. I can't do that. Jiraiya's eyes were sad but resolute. I've failed you in every way that matters. I wasn't there when you needed me. I couldn't find you when you were taken. I couldn't protect you from what was done to you. But I won't fail you in this. I won't let you become a monster. Too late. Naruto's claws trembled, still pointed at Konan's throat. Already am. No, you're not. Yugito's voice came from behind him. She approached slowly, her hands outstretched, her two tails chakra receded. You're someone who's been hurt. Someone who's been used. Someone who's fighting to survive. But you're not a monster. Look at me, Naruto snarled. Look at what I've become. I am looking. She moved closer, close enough to touch. And I see someone who saved my life. Someone who hunted down the man who tortured him. Someone who's been trying to protect people, even if he won't admit it. Her hand touched his arm gently. I see someone I care about. Someone I don't want to lose. For a long moment, nothing happened. Naruto stood frozen, his berserker form wavering, his claws still extended toward Konan's throat. The fused Nine Tails chakra crackled around him, ready to lash out at the slightest provocation. Then, slowly, his claws retracted. His body began to revert, muscles shrinking back to normal proportions, eyes fading from crimson gold to amber. The killing intent that had blanketed the area dissipated like smoke. He released Konan, who collapsed to her knees, clutching her shoulder where his chakra had burned through her defenses. Naruto stumbled, suddenly exhausted. The berserker state had pushed his body beyond its limits, and even his healing factor was struggling to keep up. His vision swam, his legs gave out. Yugito caught him before he fell, cradling him against her chest. "I've got you," she whispered. "You're okay, it's over." Naruto's voice was weak, barely audible. The real body, in the tower. Jiraiya moved past them, entering the tower to investigate. What he found made his heart break. Nagato, his former student, the orphan he'd trained during the Second Great Ninja War, lay emaciated in a mechanical chair, dozens of black chakra receivers piercing his body. His breathing was shallow, his Rinnegan eyes barely focusing. Beside him, Konan knelt, her shoulder still bleeding but her attention focused entirely on her partner. "Sensei," Nagato whispered, his voice barely audible. "You came. What happened to you?" Jiraiya's voice was thick with emotion. "I taught you to protect. To build peace, not this. Peace through pain," Nagato said softly, each word an effort. That was the only way. The world needed to understand suffering before it could end. But his eyes drifted to where Yugito held Naruto's collapsed form in the doorway. The boy who'd stopped, who'd pulled back from the killing blow despite the berserker rage consuming him. Who'd chosen mercy when vengeance was within his grasp. Outside, Yugito's voice carried through the ruined tower. "Something's wrong. This has never happened before. He's pushed the transformation too far." His body. The two tails can sense it. The adamantine skeleton and his healing factor are fighting each other. It's creating a cascade failure. "He needs medical attention," Jiraiya said, returning from the tower. "The kind only Konoha can provide." "No," Naruto's voice was weak but firm, his eyes barely open. "Not going back. You don't have a choice," Yugito said, her voice breaking slightly. "Naruto, you're dying. Your body is tearing itself apart from the inside. If we don't get you help, proper help, you won't survive the week." "Don't care." "Well, I do." Her golden eyes blazed with emotion. "I care that you live. I care that you survive this. And I'm not going to watch you die because you're too stubborn to accept help." She looked at Jiraiya, her decision made. "We go to Konoha, now. But your village will know I'm alive the moment I step foot in Fire Country." Her smile was sad but resolute. "I made my choice weeks ago when I decided to stay with him. I just didn't realize it until now. My village, they moved on without me. But he needs me, and I'm not leaving him." Inside the tower, Nagato listened to every word. The conviction in the girl's voice. The desperation. The love she couldn't quite hide. She was willing to sacrifice everything, her home, her status, her entire life, for someone who'd been turned into a weapon. He suffered more than most, Nagato thought, his Rinnegan eyes focusing on Naruto's unconscious form. Tortured, experimented on, turned into a monster. And yet he stopped. Despite the rage, despite the pain, despite having every reason to kill us, he stopped when she asked him to. For the first time in years, doubt crept into Nagato's conviction. He believed that only through experiencing pain could the world understand peace. But this boy had experienced more pain than most, had been transformed by it, weaponized by it, and still chose mercy. Perhaps he'd been wrong. Perhaps pain didn't lead to understanding. Perhaps it just led to more pain. Konan looked up at Jiraiya, her expression exhausted but no longer hostile. "Go," she said quietly. "Take your godson and leave. We won't stop you." Jiraiya wanted to say something, to reach out to his former students, to bridge the gap that ideology had created. But Nagato's breathing was labored, his consciousness fading from chakra exhaustion. And Konan's attention was entirely on keeping her partner alive. "I'm sorry," Jiraiya said finally. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you both." He turned and left, helping Yugito support Naruto's weight as they moved through the ruined village. Yugito looked back once at the tower. "Will they be okay?" "I don't know," Jiraiya admitted. "But right now, I need to focus on saving the one I still can." They disappeared into the rain, moving as quickly as Naruto's condition allowed. Behind them, the hidden rain village lay in ruins, a monument to the battle between god and monster, where neither truly won. Inside the tower, Konan worked desperately to stabilize Nagato. The chakra expenditure from controlling all 6 paths and unleashing techniques like Chibaku Tensai had pushed him to the brink of death. But he was alive, weakened, but alive. "We'll rebuild," she whispered to him, her paper techniques working to remove some of the chakra receivers causing him pain. "We'll find another way, a better way." Nagato's eyes remained closed, but his lips moved slightly. That boy showed me something. Rest, Conan urged. Don't speak. Save your strength. The rain continued to fall outside, washing away the blood and debris from the battle. For a moment, there was peace. Quiet, the sound of Nagato's labored breathing and Conan's gentle ministrations. Then space distorted. The temperature in the room dropped as a figure materialized from the shadows. An orange spiral mask, a single visible eye, a presence that radiated malice. Toby, Conan breathed, her paper wings manifesting instantly despite her exhaustion and injuries. She positioned herself between the masked man and Nagato. What are you doing here? Cleaning up loose ends. The masked man's voice was casual, almost friendly, but there was something dark beneath it. Pain has failed. The Akatsuki's leadership is compromised. The 6 paths were destroyed. And those Rinnegan eyes. His visible eye focused on Nagato's unconscious form with predatory interest. They're far too valuable to waste on someone who's lost their conviction. Stay away from him. Conan's paper techniques erupted outward, creating barriers, weapons, shields, everything she had left despite her weakened state. Always so loyal, Toba's form began to phase, his body becoming intangible as her paper attacks passed harmlessly through him. It's almost admirable, but loyalty won't save him today. And neither will you. I won't let you touch him. Conan's voice was fierce, desperate. She launched herself forward, her paper transforming into countless razor-sharp projectiles, each one aimed to kill. But Toby simply walked through them all, his Kamui technique making him untouchable. Your abilities are impressive, Conan. Truly, but you're exhausted from your battle with that Jinchuriki. Your shoulder is still bleeding from where that monster's chakra burned through your defenses. And your chakra reserves. He tilted his head mockingly. Nearly empty, his hand emerged from a spatial distortion, holding a kunai that gleamed with dark chakra. You can't protect him, you can barely stand. Watch me. Conan's entire body transformed into paper, becoming a swirling storm of white sheets that engulfed the entire room. She attacked from every angle simultaneously, trying to find an opening in his intangibility. But Toby had fought her before, knew her techniques, knew her patterns. His hand shot out faster than she could react, catching her by the throat as she reformed. His grip was iron, his Sharingan spinning hypnotically behind the mask. Enough games. He hurled her across the room. Conan crashed into the wall with bone-breaking force, her weakened body unable to absorb the impact. She slid to the floor, gasping, her paper wings crumbling. No, she wheezed, trying to rise, trying to reach Nagato. But her body wouldn't respond. The injuries from Yugito's fight, the chakra exhaustion from maintaining defenses, the impact, it was too much. She could only watch in horror as Toby approached Nagato's helpless form. Such power, Toby murmured, his hand reaching toward Nagato's face. The Rinnegan, the eyes of the sage of 6 paths himself. Wasted on dreams of peace through pain, but I have better uses for them. Nagato's eyes flickered open, the Rinnegan focusing weakly on the masked man. Madara. Why? Because your usefulness has ended. Toba's voice was cold now, all pretense of friendliness gone. You were supposed to gather the tailed beasts. You were supposed to complete the Moon's Eye plan. But instead, you lost to a boy. A weapon. A failure. His hand moved with surgical precision, fingers glowing with chakra as they approached Nagato's eyes. Don't. Conan's scream was anguished, desperate. She tried to move, tried to reach him, but her body refused to obey. Nagato looked past Toby, his eyes finding Conan's. In that moment, despite everything, there was peace in his expression. Conan, I'm sorry, I couldn't give you the world you deserved. Touching, Toba's fingers made contact. What followed was mercifully quick. The extraction of the Rinnegan was done with expert precision. Toby had performed similar procedures before. Nagato's body convulsed once, a gasp of pain escaping his lips. Then he went still. The legendary eyes that had seen the truth of the world, that had controlled life and death, that had dreamed of impossible peace, they were gone. Removed, sealed away in a container that Toby produced from his spatial dimension. No, Conan's scream tore through the tower, raw and primal. It was the sound of someone losing everything that mattered, of a world ending, of a dream dying. She tried to rise, tried to fight, tried to do anything, but her body had nothing left to give. Toby looked down at Nagato's corpse, eyeless now, his face a mask of eternal stillness, then turned to Conan with his visible Sharingan eye. I could kill you too, he said conversationally. It would be easy. You're helpless, broken, but, he paused, perhaps it's crueler to let you live. To let you carry the knowledge that you failed to protect the one person you loved most. To let you live in a world where everything you fought for was for nothing. He began to dematerialize, space warping around him. Goodbye, Conan, thank you for keeping the Rinnegan safe for me. They'll serve a much greater purpose now. I'll kill you, Conan whispered, tears streaming down her face, her voice hoarse from screaming. I swear, I'll find a way, and I'll kill you. You're welcome to try. Toba's form faded completely. If you survive that long. He vanished, leaving Conan alone in the ruined tower with Nagato's corpse. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Conan dragged herself across the floor, every movement agony, until she reached Nagato's body. She pulled him to her, cradling his head in her lap, her tears falling on his face. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough. I'm sorry. Her paper wings manifested weakly, wrapping around them both like a shroud. The rain fell harder outside, as if the sky itself was mourning. The god was dead, the dream was dead, and the one who'd killed them walked free, carrying the stolen eyes that would doom the world. Miles away, racing toward the Fire Country border, Naruto stirred in Yugito's arms. His fever-bright eyes opened briefly, unfocused and confused. Something happened, he mumbled, his enhanced senses picking up something on the wind despite his weakened state. Feels wrong. Shish, Yugito soothed, adjusting her grip as she ran. Save your strength, we're almost to the border. But Naruto's nose caught the scent, distant but unmistakable. Blood, death, the smell of something terrible happening far behind them. The real body, asterisk, he thought hazily, his consciousness slipping. I should have finished it. Should have made sure. Naruto? Yugito's voice was concerned. What's wrong? But he couldn't answer. His body was shutting down, the cascade failure accelerating. His healing factor was fighting a losing battle against the adamantine skeleton's rejection, and consciousness was a luxury he could no longer afford. His eyes closed, and he fell into darkness, unaware that the man he'd spared had just been murdered for his eyes. Unaware that his mercy had cost Nagato his life. Unaware that the stolen Rinnegan would be used for purposes far darker than Pain's twisted dream of peace. Jiraiya looked back once at the hidden rain village, now barely visible through the heavy rainfall. He felt it, that sensation that every shinobi learned to recognize. The feeling of death, of something precious being lost. We need to keep moving, he said quietly, as much to himself as to Yugito. Whatever happened back there, we can't help them now. We can only save who we still can. They disappeared into the forest, carrying a dying weapon toward the only place that might save him. Behind them, in the ruins of the hidden rain, Conan's grief-stricken screams echoed through empty streets, a sound that would haunt that village for years to come. The monster had won the battle, but the war was far from over, and the consequences of mercy, both given and denied, would reshape the world in ways none of them could predict. Time skip. Konohagakure, medical ward, Tsunade Senju, 5th Hokage and the greatest medical ninja in the world, had seen countless injuries in her decades of practice. She'd healed wounds that would kill lesser shinobi. She'd performed surgeries that defied medical possibility. She'd brought people back from the brink of death itself. But she'd never seen anything like Naruto Uzumaki. The adamantine has bonded to his skeletal structure at the molecular level, she explained to Jiraiya and Shizune, who observed from the viewing gallery above the operating theater. It's virtually indestructible, which is the problem. His healing factor is trying to regenerate tissue around the skeleton, but the adamantine is rejecting certain cellular structures. It's creating a cascade failure. Below, Naruto lay unconscious on the table, his body a roadmap of healing wounds and scars. Seals covered his arms and chest, chakra suppressors designed to keep him sedated and prevent any involuntary berserker transformations. Can you fix it? Jiraiya asked, his voice tight with concern. I already have. Tsunade's hands glowed with medical chakra as she made final adjustments. The key was understanding that the adamantine and his healing factor aren't actually incompatible, they just needed to be properly synchronized. I've adjusted the regeneration rate in specific areas, created buffer zones where the two systems can coexist. She stepped back, examining her work. He'll survive, but that berserker transformation, if he pushes that far again, there's no guarantee I can save him next time. In the corner, Yugito sat quietly, her golden eyes never leaving Naruto's unconscious form. She'd barely moved in the 3 days since they'd arrived, refusing food, refusing rest, just watching and waiting. The girl needs sleep, Shizune observed. She's been there for 72 hours straight. Let her be, Tsunade said softly. She crossed enemy lines to save him, sacrificed her village to keep him alive. The least we can do is let her be there when he wakes up. But fate had other plans. The door to the observation gallery burst open, and an Anbu operative appeared, breathing hard. Lady Hokage, Kumogakure forces have been detected at the border. They're demanding the return of Yugito ni. Tsunade's jaw tightened. How many? 40 shinobi, including the Raikage's personal guard. The ANBU's voice was grim. They have intelligence operatives outside the village. They know she's here. They know she's alive. Jiraiya cursed under his breath. Kumo doesn't mess around when it comes to their Jinchuriki. If we refuse to hand her over, we'll be looking at a potential international incident. Tsunade's fist clenched. Damn it, we just avoided one war. I won't start another over. I'll go. They turned to see Yugito standing in the doorway, her expression resolute. She'd moved so quietly that even the Anbu hadn't detected her. You don't have to, Jiraiya started. Yes, I do. Her voice was steady despite the pain in her eyes. I'm a shinobi of Kumogakure. I took an oath, and if I don't return voluntarily, they'll consider Konoha complicit in my desertion. That means war. Thousands will die because I wanted to stay by his side. She looked back at the operating room where Naruto lay unconscious, machines monitoring his vital signs. I can't let that happen. They'll punish you, Tsunade said quietly. Desertion, even with extenuating circumstances, carries severe penalties in the cloud. I know. Yugito's smile was sad, but I don't regret it. Not one moment of it. She turned to Jiraiya, her golden eyes meeting his. When he wakes up, tell him I waited as long as I could. Tell him that I wanted to say goodbye. But most of all, her voice caught slightly, tell him that I'll always care for him. That what we had, however brief, mattered to me more than anything. Jiraiya nodded, his throat tight. I'll tell him. Yugito took one last look at Naruto's unconscious form through the observation window. Then she straightened her shoulders, composed herself, and walked away, back to her village, back to punishment, back to a life without the one person who'd made her feel truly alive. The door closed behind her with a quiet finality. 4 days later, Naruto's eyes snapped open, his enhanced senses immediately cataloging his surroundings. Medical ward, antiseptic smell, chakra suppression seals on his arms and chest, machines monitoring his vital signs. Konoha. He tried to move and found himself restrained, not physically, but his chakra was being actively suppressed by the seals covering his body. Easy there, Tsunade's voice came from beside the bed. She'd been reading through medical charts, waiting for him to wake. You've been unconscious for 4 days. Your body needed time to recover from the cascade failure. Naruto's amber eyes fixed on her, taking in the legendary Sannin who'd become Hokage. Where's Yugito? Tsunade's expression softened with sympathy. Gone. Kumogakure came for her 3 days ago. She returned to her village voluntarily to prevent an international incident. Let me go. Naruto's voice was flat, dangerous. Now, I can't do that. You're still recovering. Let me go. Naruto, Jiraiya's voice came from the doorway. He entered the room, his expression grave. She left a message. She wanted you to know that she cares about you. That she would have stayed if she could. But she chose her village over me. The words were bitter. Everyone always chooses something else. That's not fair, Tsunade said sharply. She saved your life, sacrificed her standing in her village to get you here. She waited by your bedside for 3 days straight without sleep. Don't you dare diminish what she did by. Naruto wasn't listening. His enhanced senses had already mapped the seals on his body, analyzing their structure, finding their weaknesses. The fused Nine Tails chakra was responding to his anger, beginning to burn against the suppression. I'm leaving, he said quietly. You can't stop me. The seals will keep you contained, Tsunade said, though there was uncertainty in her voice. They're designed to suppress even-tailed beast chakra. The seals began to smoke. Naruto's adamantine claws extended slowly, and Tsunade's eyes widened as she realized her mistake. The claws weren't chakra-based. They were physical extensions of his adamantine-reinforced skeleton. The suppression seals had no effect on them. Snicked. 6 blades of gleaming adamantine cut through the restraints like paper. Naruto sat up, and the Nine Tails chakra exploded outward, burning the seals off his body in a wave of golden fire. Impossible, Tsunade breathed. Those seals were supposed to contain tailed beast levels of chakra. The 9 tails isn't inside me anymore. Naruto stood, his claws fully extended. It is me. You can't suppress what's fused with every cell in my body. Jiraiya moved between Naruto and the door. I can't let you leave. Not like this. Not when. Move. Naruto's eyes blazed with barely contained fury. I'm going to get her back. They'll kill you. The moment you set foot in the land of lightning, every shinobi in Kumo will come after you. Jiraiya's voice was pleading. Please, stay. Let us work this out diplomatically. Diplomatically? Naruto's laugh was harsh. Like how you diplomatically let them take her. Like how you diplomatically stood by while she was forced to choose between her village and me. She made her choice. She shouldn't have had to. Naruto's roar shook the room. She saved my life. She gave up everything for me. And what did I do? I laid here unconscious while you handed her over to people who are going to punish her for caring about me. His claws retracted, and he moved toward the window. I'm done talking. I'm done listening. I'm done with villages and their politics and their choices. Naruto, please. Jiraiya reached out. Naruto's enhanced speed let him cross the room in a blur. His hand caught Jiraiya's wrist, stopping the Sannin's grab. For a moment, Godfather and Godson stared at each other. I'm sorry, Naruto said quietly. But she's the only person who ever chose me over everything else. I'm not abandoning her. He released Jiraiya's wrist and dove out the window, disappearing into the village below. Tsunade rushed to the window, but Naruto was already gone, his enhanced senses guiding him through back alleys and rooftops, avoiding patrols with ease. Should we pursue? An Anbu appeared in the doorway. No. Tsunade's voice was tired. Even if we try, that look in his eyes, there's only one way to stop him, and that is to put him down. And even then, trapping him here would lead to more chaos. Perhaps this is just not the home for him. I know you've tried so hard to bring him back, but perhaps he's better off out there than in here. Jiraiya stared out the window, his expression haunted. He's going to start a war. Maybe, Tsunade said, or maybe he's going to save the one person who believed he was worth saving. Either way, she turned from the window. We can't stop him. No one can. Time skip. Kumogakure, detention facility. Yugito knelt in the center of a chakra suppression cell, her wrists bound with seals that burned against her skin. The 2 tails chakra was completely contained, leaving her as weak as a civilian. The Raikage stood before her, his massive frame radiating fury. You deserted your post. You allowed yourself to be captured by an unknown enemy. You crossed into fire country and allied with a Konoha acid. Do you have any idea the position you've put this village in? I saved a life, Yugito said quietly, not raising her eyes. That's what shinobi do. Shinobi follow orders. A's fist slammed into the wall beside her head, cratering the stone. You are a weapon of Kumogakure. A Jinchuriki. Your life isn't your own to risk on some boy you barely know. I know him better than you know me. Yugito's golden eyes finally met the Raikage's. In the time I spent with him, he saw me as more than a weapon. More than a container for the 2 tails. He saw me. Then he's a fool. Turned away. You'll remain in containment until we decide your punishment. Considering your actions prevented a possible war with Konoha, execution is off the table. But don't expect leniency. He left, the cell door sealing behind him with a hiss of chakra. Yugito lowered her head, letting her hair fall forward to hide the tears that threatened. She'd known there would be consequences. Had accepted them, but knowing didn't make the punishment hurt any less. Asterisk. We should have run. Asterisk. The 2 tails rumbled in her mind. Asterisk. Abandoned both villages and lived free. Asterisk. And started a war between Cloud and Leaf? Yugito thought back. Asterisk. How many would have died? Asterisk. How many will die if you're locked in here forever? How long before they decide you're too much of a risk and seal me away in some other container? Yugito had no answer for that. Days passed. She lost track of time in the windowless cell. Food came at irregular intervals. Guards rotated but never spoke to her. The chakra suppression seals burned constantly, a reminder that she was property, not a person. Then, on what might have been the 5th or 6th day, alarms began to wail throughout the village. Space distorted above Kumogakure's central district, and a figure emerged from the warping reality. An orange spiral mask, a single visible Sharingan eye, and a presence that made even veteran shinobi hesitate. Tobi, calling himself Madara Uchiha, floated above the village like a god of destruction. People of Kumogakure, his voice echoed through the streets, amplified by chakra. I've come for your Jinchuriki. Surrender them peacefully, and your village will be spared. Resist. The Rinnegan eyes, Nagato's stolen eyes, blazed from behind the mask. And I will show you pain beyond comprehension. The wreckage appeared on a nearby building in a burst of lightning-released chakra, his body crackling with power. You dare attack my village? I'll kill you where you stand. A brave sentiment. Toba's hand rose. Shinra Tensai. The massive repulsive force caught the wreckage mid-charge, sending even his incredible bulk flying backward through 3 buildings. The shockwave leveled everything in a 100-yard radius. Sasuke Uchiha stepped through the portal, his Mangekyo Sharingan blazing with hatred. Lightning crackled around his body, and his presence radiated killing intent. Sasuke Uchiha, a cloud shinobi, recognized him. The Konoha defector. Former Konoha shinobi, Sasuke corrected coldly. That village deserves nothing but destruction. But first, his eyes fixed on the detention facility. First, we collect what we came for. Kumogakure's forces rallied, thousands of shinobi converging on the 2 invaders. But Toba's Kamui made him untouchable, and the Rinnegan's devastating techniques carved through their ranks like a scythe through wheat. Sasuke moved like lightning made flesh, his Chidori variants decimating anyone who got close. His Susanoo manifested, a skeletal warrior of chakra that crushed buildings and shinobi alike. Fall back, someone screamed, we need the 8 tails. Already here, Killer B appeared in a burst of speed, his body partially transformed with the 8 tails chakra. Time to take these fools to school, make them look like tools, yeah. He clashed with Sasuke, their powers shaking the very foundations of the village. Meanwhile, Tobi carved a path toward the detention facility where the Jinchuriki were held. Inside her cell, Yugito felt the barriers weakening as the facility's power systems were damaged. The chakra suppression seals flickered. We're moving you, a guard appeared at her cell door. The village is under attack by. The wall exploded inward, and Tobi stepped through the rubble. Thank you for gathering the Jinchuriki in one convenient location. It saves time. His hand extended toward Yugito, and she felt the pull of the Rinnegan's power, the same technique that had torn souls from bodies, the same power that Nagato had wielded. Nagato, the realization hit her like a physical blow. If this man had the Rinnegan, that meant, you killed him, she whispered. After everything, after he spared us, you killed Nagato and took his eyes. He served his purpose. Toba's voice held no remorse. And now you'll serve yours. The 2 tails will be extracted, and you'll die knowing that your sacrifice brings us one step closer to a perfect world. The guards tried to interfere, but Toba's Kamui made their attacks pass harmlessly through him. His hand closed around Yugito's throat, lifting her effortlessly. Don't struggle, it only makes the extraction more painful. Let her go. The voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Tobi turned to see Naruto standing in the destroyed wall, his amber eyes blazing with barely contained fury. His claws were extended, blood dripping from them, likely from the guards he'd torn through to reach this place. Naruto, Yugito breathed, hope and fear warring in her eyes. You shouldn't be here. Interesting. Tobi studied Naruto with his Sharingan. The 9 tails Jinchuriki, or rather, the boy who was a Jinchuriki. I've heard about you. The weapon that killed Kisame. The monster that destroyed Pain's 6 paths. He tightened his grip on Yugito's throat. But you're too late. She's mine now. Last chance. Naruto's voice dropped to a growl. Let her go. Or what? You'll attack? Toba's laugh was mocking. My Kamui makes me untouchable. Your claws can't hit what they can't reach. And if you try. He squeezed slightly, making Yugito gasp. I'll snap her neck before you take a single step. For a moment, Naruto stood frozen, his mind racing through options. Every instinct screamed at him to attack, to tear this masked bastard apart. But if he moved too soon, Yugito would die. Then B's voice echoed from outside. Naruto, that you, bro? Need some help, don't be slow. The 8 tails Jinchuriki crashed through another wall, his partial transformation making him a towering figure of muscle and chakra. He took in the scene immediately, Tobi holding Yugito, Naruto ready to attack. 2 Jinchuriki for the price of 1, Tobi mused. Today is productive, you're not taking anyone. Naruto's claws extended further, golden chakra beginning to leak from his body. Not her, not him, not anyone else you can use for whatever nightmare you're planning. Bold words, Toba's Rinnegan eyes pulsed with power. But ultimately meaningless. You can't defeat a god. I already killed 1 god. Naruto's body began to transform, muscles swelling, chakra intensifying. What's 1 more? What happened next would be recorded in the history books as the day Kumogakure witnessed the birth of a true monster. Naruto's rage, at Orochimaru for creating him, at the Akatsuki for hunting Jinchuriki, at Tobi for threatening Yugito, at the world for forcing her to choose between him and her village. It all coalesced into something transcendent. The Berserker state activated, but it didn't stop at the usual transformation. It kept going. His body exploded with golden chakra, but instead of the usual formless aura, it shaped itself into something specific. 9 tails of pure energy manifested behind him, each one writhing with power. His claws extended beyond anything they'd reached before, glowing white-hot with chakra so intense it began to distort space around the blades. Impossible, Tobi breathed, releasing Yugito in his shock. That's not. You're not transforming into the 9 tails. You're transforming into something else. Naruto dropped to all fours, his body taking on a fox-like stance. The 9 tails spread wide behind him, his claws digging into the stone floor and cracking it. His eyes blazed with crimson gold light, and when he opened his mouth, the voice that emerged was both human and beast. I told you, he growled. Let her go. He moved. The speed was beyond anything Tobi had anticipated. One moment Naruto was across the room. The next, his claws were driving toward Tobi's head. Kamui activated, making Tobi intangible. The claws passed through him harmlessly. But Naruto had anticipated this. His enhanced senses had been studying Tobi's technique during the entire conversation, analyzing the patterns, the timing. There was a moment, a fraction of a second, where Tobi had to become tangible to interact with the physical world. And Naruto was fast enough to exploit it. His claws reversed direction mid-swing, catching Tobi as he solidified to launch his own counterattack. The adamantine blades, now wreathed in chakra so intense it could cut through space itself, found purchase. They tore through Tobi's shoulder, through his neck, through his skull. The masked man's head split clean in two, the orange mask shattering, revealing the scarred face beneath for just a moment before the body collapsed. Tobi, Sasuke's scream echoed from outside. He burst into the facility, Susanoo fully manifested, ready to avenge his ally. Naruto was already there. His speed in this evolved form was incomprehensible. He appeared in front of Sasuke's Susanoo and drove his chakra-wreathed claws into the chakra construct. The claws that could cut through space itself tore through the Susanoo like tissue paper. Naruto's fist hammered into Sasuke's face, breaking his nose. Another strike shattered ribs. A kick sent him crashing through the wall and out into the village street. Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto's distorted voice growled as he stalked forward. You had people who cared about you. A team, a village, a brother who died to protect you. He grabbed Sasuke by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Unlike me, you had reasons to live, reasons to move forward, and you threw it all away for revenge. They killed my clan, Sasuke choked out, blood running from his mouth. They ordered my brother to slaughter everyone I loved, and instead of honoring his sacrifice, you became exactly what they died to prevent. Naruto's claws pressed against Sasuke's chest. You became a traitor, a murderer, a weapon for someone else's ambitions. I'll destroy Konoha, Sasuke spat. I'll burn it to ash. I'll make them pay for. Snicked. The claws punched through Sasuke's chest, piercing his heart. The Uchiha's eyes widened in shock, his Mangekyo Sharingan fading as life left his body. No, Naruto said quietly. You won't. He released Sasuke's corpse, letting it fall to the ground. Around him, Kumogakure Shinobi watched in horrified awe as this golden-cloaked monster casually ended the last Uchiha. Naruto turned, his 9 tails swirling behind him, and walked back into the facility. He found Yugito still on the ground, staring at him with wide eyes. It's over, he said, his voice gradually returning to normal as the transformation began to recede. You're safe now. He moved to where Tobi's corpse lay, or what was left of it. Scattered among the remains were the Rinnegan eyes, Nagato's stolen legacy. Naruto's foot came down on them, his adamantine-reinforced heel crushing the legendary eyes into paste. No one else uses these, he said firmly. No more gods, no more monsters. It ends here. Yugito pushed herself to her feet, her chakra finally returning as the suppression seals had completely failed during the battle. She approached Naruto slowly, carefully, as if afraid he might attack. But when his eyes met hers, there was nothing but relief. You came for me, she whispered. Of course I did. His claws retracted, his transformation completing its recession. He was just Naruto again, bloody, exhausted, but alive. I care about you. We'll have to run, she said, glancing at the destroyed facility, the watching cloud shinobi, the corpses of Tobi and Sasuke. They'll never let us stay. Not after this. Not after what you've done. I don't care. Naruto extended his hand to her. As long as you're by my side, I don't care where we go or who comes after us. Yugito took his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. Together then, no villages, no allegiances, just us, he agreed. B stepped forward, his expression serious for once. Yo, Naruto, that's a bold way to go, putting on quite a show. But you saved my partner, my Jinchuriki sister, can't let that pass without a mister, without respect. He nodded to them both. Go, I'll give you a head start, for what it's worth. Understood, Yugito bowed. Naruto and Yugito turned and ran, their enhanced speed carrying them out of Kumobikure faster than most could follow. They ran through the land of lightning, across the borders, into territories unknown. Behind them, 2 villages would brand them as missing nin. The Akatsuki's remnants would seek revenge. Hunters would pursue them for the bounties on their heads. But for the first time in their lives, they were free. Free to choose their own path. Free to make their own mistakes. Free to be something other than weapons. As the sun set on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Naruto and Yugito stopped on a hillside overlooking a vast forest. Where do we go now? Yugito asked, her hand still in his. Naruto looked at her, really looked at her. The fierce warrior who'd saved his life. The Jinchuriki who'd given up everything for him. The woman who'd chosen him over her entire world. Anywhere, he said, pulling her close. As long as it's together. She smiled, a real smile, free of the weight of duty and expectation. Together sounds perfect. They kissed as the sun set, 2 weapons who'd chosen to become human, 2 monsters who'd found something worth being gentle for, 2 outcasts who'd finally found home in each other. The story of Naruto Uzumaki, the weapon that became a man, the monster that chose mercy, the outcast that found love, was far from over. But this chapter, at least, had a happy ending. 1 year later, in a small cabin deep in a forest that existed on no map, 2 figures sat by a fire. Naruto's claws were retracted, his expression peaceful as Yugito leaned against his shoulder. The 2 tails purred contentedly in her mindscape, and the fused 9 tails chakra within Naruto had finally found equilibrium. Think they're still looking for us? Yugito asked. Probably. Naruto's hand found hers, but they won't find us. Not here, not ever, and if they do? He smiled, a rare, genuine expression. Then we run again, or we fight, doesn't matter, we'll figure it out together. She kissed his cheek. I love you, you know that? I know. His smile widened. I love you too. Outside, the world continued its eternal conflicts. Villages fought, shinobi died, politics and power played their endless games. But in this small cabin, in this forgotten corner of the world, 2 people had found something more valuable than any technique, more powerful than any jutsu. They'd found peace, and they'd found each other. That, in the end, was all that mattered. Final end.
Thank you all for listening. I will be back home soon to post more episodes. I hope this kept you entertained while I'm away. And remember, feel free to comment your what if ideas down below. Whether it's from anime, movies, or series, I want to hear your suggestions. See you guys soon.